Chapter 198. Chaos Divine Lightning. Sumu was shocked. The Chaos Divine Lightning was a terrifying lightning that could even kill a sea reincarnation realm expert. How did this Qin Feng master such a terrifying thing? Looking at his two subordinates who were severely injured by the Chaos Divine Lightning, Sumu's face was extremely gloomy. Behind Sumu, the expressions of the experts changed as well. Someone tried to retreat and break out of the area covered by the thunderclouds, but the outcome was tragic. With a rumble, he was struck by the Chaos Divine Lightning and turned into charcoal. His body was still smoking, and traces of gray lightning shuttled through his body. He lost half of his life. This scene frightened many people. The patrol envoys of the Medicine King Hall were terrified. The more Sumu looked at it, the more frightened he was. This was an array, an extremely powerful array. This was an array that could trigger the terrifying Chaos Divine Lightning. The entire array made Sumu feel a sense of threat, a life and death crisis. Sumu had a faint feeling of regret. It wasn't that he regretted dealing with Qin Feng, but that he should have used a different method to appease him first before killing him. This Qin Feng can actually set up such a terrifying array. It seems like I have to change my strategy. Why don't I think of a way to stabilize him and kill him when he least expects it? Various countermeasures flashed through his mind. Sumu waved his hand to signal his subordinates behind him to be quiet and calm down. He squeezed out a smile and spoke to the black-robed young man sternly. Qin Feng, it's not too late for you to regret now. I know that you were just hot-blooded and accidentally injured Wei Qinghuang. However, Wei Qinghuang is still a patrol envoy of the Medicine King Hall. If I don't do anything, how can the Medicine King Hall command the medicine boys and disciples in the future? Seeing Qin Feng keeping silent, Sumu's heart flashed with a trace of killing intent as he spoke with a smile on his face. Qin Feng, you have to be considerate of the Medicine King Hall. After all, you are still a disciple of the Medicine King Hall, and I am an elder of the Medicine King Hall. I have to consider the reputation of the Medicine King Hall. How about this? As long as you surrender yourself now and follow this elder to the Medicine King Hall, we can confront each other and find out the truth of the matter. If you really didn't make the first move, this elder can guarantee you that you will absolutely be unscathed. Who was Qin Feng? At a glance, he saw through the ferocious killing intent hidden under Sumu's hypocritical mask. I might as well pretend to be polite to him for the time being. This Sumu is really not easy to kill. He is an elder of the Medicine King Hall. If I take the initiative to kill him, I will definitely break the sky. At that time, I will be expelled by the Myriad Stars Academy. Qin Feng's eyes flickered as he thought to himself. It's best if he does it himself. Then, I'll have a reason to seize the opportunity to eliminate him and kill him in one fell swoop. Qin Feng was unusually ferocious. Since Sumu wanted to kill him, Qin Feng had long wanted to cut the weeds and eliminate the root. Standing on the eye of the formation, Qin Feng sneered. Sumu, cut the crap. You were still shouting to kill this cave master earlier. Now you're lowering your stance because you're afraid of the formation in my hands. But since you want to reconcile, then you must show some sincerity. Qin Feng was more difficult to deal with than expected. Sumu said, "What sincerity?" Qin Feng sneered. "Your subordinate destroyed hundreds of my precious herbs. You'll compensate me immediately. I don't want much, just 1,000 points. 1,000 points was purely an exorbitant demand. How could Sumu be willing to be a sucker? Moreover, Sumu wholeheartedly wanted to kill Qin Feng. Sumu's face darkened as he said coldly, "Qin Feng, I, Sumu, am indeed afraid of the formation in your hands. But I'm also giving you a chance. You're a disciple of my Medicine King Hall after all. The spiritual herbs on Scarlet Sky Peak were stolen. You should at least give the Medicine King Hall an explanation, right?" Sumu's tongue was like a lotus flower. His clever words carried a trace of imposing threat. The Scarlet Sky Peak disciple's expression was somewhat subtle. Sumu had indeed grasped the Scarlet Sky Peak's weakness. Qin Feng sneered in disdain. Sumu, don't take things out of context. It's true that my Scarlet Sky Peak lost a spiritual herb, but the Medicine King Hall has its own rules. As long as we compensate with spiritual herbs of the same value, what's the big deal about losing a spiritual herb? Look up and see what's over there. Sumu's expression changed. He saw a bunch of profound ginseng at the foot of the hill near the spiritual garden. The leaves of these profound ginseng were pitch black and their rhizomes were like a complete old man. There were hundreds of them in a large patch, and a dozen of them were already 700 to 800 years old. Sumu sneered. However, even a dozen of 700 to 800 years old profound ginseng couldn't compare to a high-tier yellow-class spiritual herb. There was a huge gap between spiritual herbs below 1,000 years old and those above 1,000 years old. The difference in medicinal properties was like heaven and earth. Sumu was about to speak. Qin Feng stretched out a hand, and a faint black water ball suddenly appeared on his palm. Minor art of cloud and rain. Sumu's expression changed. How could Sumu not recognize the Medicine King Hall's signature secret technique? Sumu's eyes revealed a trace of disbelief. Qin Feng's hand was a small ball of one heavenly primordial water. Generally speaking, the 9th level of the minor art of cloud and rain could only condense one drop. Condensing it into a small ball meant that there was only one answer. That was the completion of the 12th level of the minor art of cloud and rain. This, behind Sumu, the Medicine King Hall's disciples were tongue-tied. They had also noticed this point. Who was Qin Feng? The new first seat of the Azure Dragon College, and had entered the All-Stars College for 2 months. To be able to cultivate the minor art of cloud and rain to the completion of the 12th level in 2 months, how terrifying was that? This was simply a miracle, a demon. Sumu's face revealed a trace of unease. Indeed, following that, the pitch-black water ball on Qin Feng's palm spun, and suddenly split into 36 black water droplets. Qin Feng casually pointed, and one of the droplets of one heavenly primordial water silently landed on a 900-year-old black ginseng. Visible to the naked eye, this 900-year-old black ginseng began to absorb that droplet of one heavenly primordial water. Its leaves began to release a trace of dim light, and its roots became plump, slowly giving off a layer of spiritual light. Suddenly, the radish-like black ginseng on the ground began to move. Like a groundhog, it burrowed into the ground and disappeared. The next moment it appeared in the spirit garden with the most abundant spiritual energy. Its black leaves fluttered, glowing with spiritual light, sparkling and translucent. It seemed to be thanking Qin Feng for enlightening it. After this 900-year-old black ginseng absorbed the essence of one heavenly primordial water, it actually advanced into a 1,000-year-old black ginseng, and became a low-grade yellow-class spirit herb. Qin Feng waved his sleeves, and 36 droplets of one heavenly primordial water fell one after another. Streaks of dim light were born in the black ginseng herb garden. Close to 18,000-year-old black ginseng were born in an instant. Qin Feng looked at Sumu. Elder Su, are my 18,000-year-old black ginseng worth the lost spirit herb? Worth it. Of course it was worth it. Although the 500-year-old red dragon yellow essence was precious, it was at most equivalent to the value of 3,000-year-old black ginseng. These 18,000-year-old black ginseng greatly exceeded that. 18 spirit herbs were born in the Scarlet Sky Peak Spirit Garden. If this news were to spread, it would definitely shake the entire All-Stars College's Spirit Mountain Blessed District. Luan Xiaochuan and the rest did not care about their serious injuries, and quickly climbed up from the ground. They sprawled on the fence of the spirit garden, unable to conceal the smiles on their faces. The atmosphere froze. Su Mu's expression was ugly, and the group of patrol envoys' faces were gloomy and shocked. the 12th level of the minor art of cloud and rain. In the Medicine King Hall, only the 4 great elders and a few other outstanding level 7 disciples had this kind of skill. The reason why the 4 great elders had such a high status was mainly because they had mastered the 12th level of the minor art of cloud and rain. They could condense the one heavenly primordial water and nourish creation's spiritual items. Looking at this scene, Su Mu's expression flickered violently. He was gloomy as he thought to himself, "No, this Qin Feng's talent is too frightening." In just 2 months, he had cultivated the minor art of cloud and rain to the great circle. Moreover, he is the first seat of the Azure Dragon Institute. Once he is allowed to grow, he will definitely become a huge threat. Since we have already offended him today, we definitely cannot give him another chance to grow, even if I have to pay a huge price today. Looking at Su Mu's expression, Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a sinister smile as he thought to himself, "Good, this Su Mu can't take it anymore. He is going to make a move. As long as he dares to make the first move, I will immediately activate the Chaos Divine Thunder formation to blast him to death. Cut the weeds and dig up the roots." This is the 4th update. The 5th update will be at around 6 p.m. There is one more update at night, brothers. Please recommend me, please collect me, please reward me. Chapter 199. Qin Feng had a smile on his face as if he didn't notice Su Mu's killing intent. Kill! The next moment Su Mu moved. With a majestic gait, he appeared 10 steps away from Qin Feng and struck out a palm. This palm was fast and powerful. Su Mu's deliberate sneak attack was out of everyone's expectation. Some people exclaimed, "Luan Xiaochuan, Su Jie, Zhao Yuan," and the others were shocked and angry. While the other patrolmen sneered. Qin Feng felt a sense of threat. Dozens of steps away, a majestic force came like a boundless sea. Qin Feng's bones went numb. Qin Feng's mind was condensed to the extreme. After reaching the 10th heaven of martial arts, Qin Feng's 6th inspiration became more powerful. This kind of tyrannical 6th sense gave Qin Feng a kind of mysterious feeling. When Su Mu's killing intent broke out, he felt it immediately. Qin Feng clearly felt the opposite direction of Su Mu's attack. Using the identity of the level 4 chaotic heavenly thunder formation's owner, Qin Feng controlled the power of the formation and moved 100 steps away. Rumble! Su Mu's palm hit the ground, creating a huge pit as if the earth was shaking. Qin Feng's dodge was out of everyone's expectation. He actually dodged this fatal blow. Did he expect that Elder Su would attack? Could it be the sensing of qi? A martial artist guessed. Impossible, Elder Su's speed is too fast. Even if he sensed the qi, he couldn't dodge this palm. After Su Mu's palm missed, he realized that he might have underestimated Qin Feng. Su Mu let out a deep roar. His figure was like a stream of light as he charged towards Qin Feng. Su Mu relied on his strong strength and was like a domineering bull. His palm struck out with monstrous power. The best virtue was like water and all things without competition. Qin Feng's face changed slightly. A suffocating pressure came from his body. With the help of the formation, his body turned into a phantom and moved. Rumble! Qin Feng's figure was blasted into pieces by the palm strike. This was an illusion. Qin Feng appeared several hundred steps away, his face calm. Qin Feng thought to himself, "What a tyrannical power! Even from dozens of steps away, it almost shattered all of my bones." The pulse condensation period has 5 great secret realms, and this person has comprehended at least 4 of them. His strength is simply earth-shattering. Qin Feng was shocked. This Su Mu was definitely the strongest meridian condensing expert he had ever met. Whether it was in terms of speed or strength, he could completely crush him. Even if he used the innate chaotic annihilation 6th sword, Qin Feng did not have the confidence to injure this person. Su Mu discovered the mystery of this tactical matrix. With the support of this tactical matrix, Qin Feng would be like a rabbit unless he could completely lock him down. Otherwise, Qin Feng would have been able to borrow the power of the array to teleport. Su Mu said with a gloomy face and a cold glint in his eyes. Qin Feng, don't hide if you have the ability. Qin Feng's eyes flickered as he suddenly laughed. Okay, then I won't hide. Qin Feng intertwined his fingers and sat cross-legged on the center of the tactical matrix of the chaotic heavenly thunder. Layers of light gray lightning appeared between Qin Feng's palms. Qin Feng said softly, "Go!" The chaotic heavenly thunder roared, and a trace of light gray lightning shrouded Su Mu. Rumble! Wherever it passed, the void exploded. Su Mu's face changed greatly. His body moved and turned into 9 Su Mu. 1 Su Mu stayed where he was, and the other 8 Su Mu hid in all directions. Each Su Mu was extremely real. It was impossible to tell which one was the real one. Rumble! The light gray lightning struck the Su Mu who stayed where he was, and in an instant, this Su Mu was annihilated. This was a fake one. Su Mu's body flashed and appeared 100 steps away, and the other 7 phantoms went back into his body. This was a water spirit doppelganger that Su Mu had cultivated. As long as true force was poured into it, a temporary doppelganger with 1% of his strength could be formed. This doppelganger was extremely real, and its aura and chi momentum were not inferior at all. It also had combat power, and it was impossible to tell the real one from the fake one. Qin Feng stopped his hand gesture and pondered. Qin Feng had to find a way to distinguish the real one from the fake one, or it would only waste his true chi. It is indeed the chaotic heavenly thunder. Su Mu raised his head slightly and sneered. Qin Feng, although this elder doesn't know what method you used to set up such a powerful formation, the formation still needs the formation master to be able to display its full power. I don't know much about tactical matrices, but I know that the higher the level of the tactical matrix, the more energy it will consume to operate it. Su Mu smiled confidently, and his cold eyes fell on Qin Feng. The power of this tactical matrix is so amazing that you must consume a lot of energy to operate it. Let me guess. You can use this kind of heavenly thunder once or twice at most. After 2 times, you will become a fish on my chopping board. Su Mu stared at Qin Feng motionlessly. He saw the change in Qin Feng's eyes that he was trying to hide. Su Mu sneered with a trace of complacency in his eyes. Am I right? Although it was a question, Su Mu had already confirmed it. Qin Feng was silent. Su Mu was right. Although the chaotic heavenly thunder tactical matrix was powerful, Qin Feng was only a level 1 mystic master. Controlling a level 4 tactical matrix with the power of a level 1 mystic master was like a child lifting a sledgehammer. 2 times was Qin Feng's limit. Qin Feng did not intend to hide this. Qin Feng raised his head and said calmly, "You guessed right. I can only operate it twice." After saying that, the corner of Qin Feng's mouth curled up into a faint smile. However, although I can only use it twice, the first strike can severely injure you. The second strike can make you die without a complete corpse. You are still so stubborn when you are about to die. Su Mu had great confidence in his own innate ability. Su Mu had once been pursued by a half-step sea-wheel expert, but even that expert couldn't differentiate the 8 clones from the real Su Mu. Su Mu did not believe that this ant in the 10th firmament of the martial path, who had not even stepped into the Meridian's condensation realm, could do it. Go to hell. Su Mu's face was cold and murderous. Like a violent dragon, he appeared dozens of steps away from Qin Feng and blasted out a palm. Chaotic heavenly thunder. Qin Feng sneered. A light gray ball of thunder appeared in his palm. Qin Feng, this move is useless against me. Your life is destined to be mine. Su Mu laughed contemptuously. His body flashed, and he used his true power to create 8 clones. They surrounded his body and attacked Qin Feng from all directions. Qin Feng closed his eyes. His tyrannical sixth sense was condensed to the extreme. A mysterious aura appeared in his mind. This time, Qin Feng used his innate magical power. His innate magical power had an extremely strong control over water vapor. 9 Su-Mus appeared in Qin Feng's vision. Up, down, left, right, north, south, east, and west, they split into 8 directions and rushed towards Qin Feng at an extremely high speed. Qin Feng felt an extremely clear sense of familiarity from 8 of these Su-Mus. These 8 were the water spirit clones that contained the water spirit. Qin Feng's eyes fell on the 9th figure that was rushing towards him. It's him. An ominous glint appeared in Qin Feng's eyes. The light gray ball of thunder in his palm blasted towards this Su-Mu like a thunderbolt. Su-Mu's face suddenly changed. His face instantly turned pale. A trace of disbelief flashed in his eyes. Rumble! The chaotic heavenly thunder hit its target. A mournful scream resounded throughout the scarlet sky peak. This is the 5th update. There is still one more update at night. Chapter 200. After being struck by the gray lightning, Su-Mu's body was charred black, and his clothes were tattered. Qin Feng laughed. Elder Su has a good appearance. I wonder if you are burning a kiln or selling charcoal. Your skin is so black that it is turning purple. Su-Mu's face was already charred black, and it turned even darker. He glanced at Qin Feng with an extremely cold look. Su-Mu turned around, turned into a sharp blade, and rushed toward the chaotic divine thunder formation without hesitation. Su-Mu was extremely fast. Even though he was heavily injured, he was still a few dozen feet away in the blink of an eye. He was about to leave the array. Su-Mu was going to escape. Elder Su is going to escape? In the array, the Medicine King Hall martial artists were confused. Do you think you can escape? Qin Feng's eyes were cold. How could he let Su-Mu escape? Qin Feng activated the last bit of Xiantian true qi in his body, and a pale gray lightning ball appeared in his palm. Go! The pale gray lightning ball was like a stream of light that pierced through the void. In the next moment it was behind Su-Mu. Su-Mu's face was pale, and all the hair on his body stood up. Su-Mu's eyes revealed a trace of desperation, anger, and unwillingness. He was an expert in the 4th secret realm of the pulse condensation realm, and he was going to die in the hands of a martial artist in the 10th level of the martial Tao. No! Su-Mu's eyes turned red and he let out a roar. Seeing the pale gray lightning ball about to drown Su-Mu, Qin Feng revealed a smile. But in the next moment, his face froze. A figure seemed to squeeze out of the void and appeared behind Su-Mu out of thin air. He stretched out a white and slender hand and gently grasped with his 5 fingers. Suddenly, the terrible chaotic thunder ball was caught in his hand. It was a young man in a black robe. His black hair was loose to his waist, and his face was fair and clean. He gave off a very clean feeling. His eyebrows were black and white, and there was a trace of white hair in the black, as if he had 2 layers of eyebrows. He didn't have a trace of an expert's aura, and he looked lazy. Qin Feng's pupils contracted. The terrifying chaos divine thunderball that could kill a reincarnation realm expert was like an ordinary toy in the hands of this person. Chaotic divine lightning, what a familiar smell! While Qin Feng's eyelids were twitching, this terrifying existence tossed the chaos divine lightning in its hand and sniffed it. Then, it put it in its mouth and swallowed it. The taste is very pure. The man narrowed his eyes as if he was trying to recall. Gulp! Qin Feng's throat moved as he sucked in a breath of cold air. This was a big shot. The person in front of him was definitely a big shot in All Stars College. The battle here had actually attracted the attention of a big shot. Qin Feng's eyes flickered for a moment. This was a big deal. That person's gaze swept over Qin Feng, and all the muscles in Qin Feng's body stiffened. It was as if he was being stared at by some ancient giant beast, and he couldn't move at all. Fortunately, that person only glanced at them and then looked elsewhere. After a while, that person laughed. So it's a chaos divine lightning formation. So that's how it is. That terrifying existence's gaze landed on Qin Feng, and his expression turned indifferent. Little brat, why did you kill him? Do you know that killing fellow disciples is a big taboo in All Stars College? That person's voice was indifferent, but a huge pressure suddenly appeared in Qin Feng's heart. Looks like it's going to be a failure. Qin Feng's mouth revealed a trace of a bitter smile. In contrast to the bitter smile on Qin Feng's face, Su Mu's face revealed an unconcealable ecstasy. Su Mu had escaped from death. Seeing that the black-robed man was making trouble for Qin Feng, Su Mu raised his head and looked at Qin Feng with extreme resentment. Then, he turned to the black-robed man and said sorrowfully, "Senior, you have to make a decision for our Medicine King Hall. This person has committed a heinous crime. He wantonly killed fellow disciples and had no respect for his elders. His evil deeds are too numerous to be recorded." Su Mu pointed at the unconscious Wei Qing Huang on the ground. "Senior, please take a look. That's our Medicine King Hall's patrol inspector." Our Medicine King Hall's patrol inspector was just doing his job, but this little bastard deliberately ambushed him, captured him, humiliated him, and even cut off his manhood. His cruelty is outrageous. Hearing that, Luan Xiaochuan, Su Jie, and the others were anxious. Luan Xiaochuan stood out and refuted loudly. "Su Mu, you're talking nonsense and distorting the truth. Our cave master." Noisy. Bang. A black-robed man swept his sleeve, and an invisible wind wrapped around Luan Xiaochuan's body and sent him flying several feet away. With a bang, he fell to the ground. Blurred. Luan Xiaochuan's face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Su Mu was overjoyed. Su Mu turned his head and stared at the black-robed young man with resentment and pride. The black-robed man's gaze fell on the young man in the same black robe. "What else do you have to say?" Qin Feng sighed and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. "Senior is wise. Senior is one of the overlords of our All-Stars College, and your vision is as sharp as a torch. I believe there's no need for this disciple to speak in detail. Everything that happened here will not escape Senior's grasp." The black-robed man's eyes were noncommittal as he sneered. "So you're saying that you're innocent?" Qin Feng looked straight at the black-robed man. "Senior has already made his judgment, so there's no need for this disciple to say anything more." Qin Feng was gambling. He was gambling that this black-robed expert had already seen everything that happened here. Qin Feng believed that this black-robed expert's appearance was not a coincidence, and that he had definitely noticed this place long ago. The black-robed man looked deeply at the black-robed young man in front of him, who was neither servile nor overbearing. The expression on his face grew colder and colder. If it was someone else, that person would have been frightened to the point of losing their head out of fear. Even if they were slightly better off, their heart would still beat faster, and their face would feel cold. Qin Feng's expression was indifferent, and he was calm and collected. The black-robed man's gaze grew increasingly stern, and the atmosphere on Scarlet Sky Peak became stagnant. The atmosphere was getting worse and worse. "Cave Master, why don't you give this lord an explanation?" Luan Xiaochuan, Su Jie, Zhao Yuan, and the rest of the apprentices felt their mouths go dry, and they were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. Su Mu and the rest, on the other hand, revealed excited expressions, and their eyes grew colder. This brat actually dared to contradict this supreme expert before them. He was simply courting death. After a moment, a smile suddenly appeared on the black-robed man's face, and it melted like ice. "Little brat, your composure is not bad. You're actually able to look straight into my eyes without batting an eyelid. Your mentality is not bad as well. You probably already expected that I would be here long ago. You guessed correctly. After I arrived here a few days ago, nothing in this area could escape my eyes, including Wei Qinghuang being castrated by you. I saw everything. As the black-robed man's aura disappeared from Qin Feng's body, Qin Feng touched his wet palms and heaved a sigh of relief. Although Qin Feng's willpower was outstanding, his cultivation base was still immature. After resisting this magnate's aura for so long, his body had almost reached its limit. If this continued for a while longer, Qin Feng would definitely make a fool of himself. Qin Feng raised his head and said seriously, "Senior, you flatter me. Senior's divine power is unparalleled. Naturally, nothing here can escape your eyes. Right and wrong are all in your eyes." Qin Feng felt a little awkward. In his previous life, he had always been the one being complimented. This time, it was his turn to say such untrue words. At the side, Sumu, who was listening to the conversation between the two, already had a bad feeling. "All right, there's no need to say such words. I've heard it for a few hundred years, and I'm tired of it." With a faint smile, the black-robed man extended his hand and made a grabbing motion in the air. Sumu, who was behind the black-robed man, seemed to have been grabbed by the neck by an invisible hand and lifted up. His legs were suspended in the air as he made a turn and arrived in front of the black-robed man. Looking at the terrifying black-robed man in front of him, Sumu's face was filled with horror. He opened his mouth like a fish that was about to die, unable to utter a word. The black-robed man's white eyebrows twitched slightly as he coldly looked at Sumu. "Trash, you really don't know what's good for you. I saved your life out of kindness once in a few hundred years, and you actually dared to play me like a monkey. You deserve to die." The black-robed man opened his mouth and spat out a light gray chaotic lightning ball. "I'll return this plaything to you." The black-robed man grabbed the chaotic lightning ball and forced it into Sumu's open mouth. After throwing Sumu down, the black-robed man disappeared from the scarlet sky peak in a flash. Sumu kneeled on the ground in a daze. After a while, he smiled bitterly. This time, he thought he was smart. He had harmed himself. In the next moment, Sumu's body turned into ashes and shattered into pieces. This is the first update. The second update is in the morning. Please recommend it, please bookmark it, please reward it. Chapter 201. Sumu had died without a sound, as if this person had never existed in the Medicine King Hall. However, the four elders were still the four elders. Another 7th-grade disciple had advanced to become an 8th-grade disciple of the Medicine King Hall. Wei Qinghuang was carried away. The farce at the Scarlet Sky Summit came to an end. However, Qin Feng was famous for being able to cripple a patrol inspector and kill a Medicine King Hall elder all by himself and still come out unscathed. Qin Feng became a famous jinx in this area of the Medicine King Hall. The incident of the missing spiritual herbs was still fermenting. As long as the thief who stole the spiritual herbs was not caught, All Stars College would not let the matter rest. Qin Feng did not know if it was an illusion, but he felt that Lord Ba had become more well-behaved these days. The number of times he appeared in front of him these days was too eye-catching. Beside the lake, the scenery was picturesque. The weeping willows were like smoke, the ancient trees were sparkling and translucent, and fresh flowers bloomed everywhere. The flower petals fell like rain, emitting a sweet fragrance. Mist rose in spirals from the heavenly lake, and golden lotuses swayed in the water. Sitting cross-legged on a newly built platform beside the heavenly lake, Qin Feng circulated the innate mixed element qi. The liquid innate mixed element qi in his body flowed slowly. In that battle, Qin Feng forcefully circulated the innate mixed element qi, tidal annihilation's 6th sword, and his meridians were severely injured. However, the tidal sword intent was a blessing in disguise, and it advanced a small step, reaching 60% completion. Qin Feng sat with his eyes closed, concentrating on comprehending the Golden Gung slaying sword art. Strands of sword qi were emitted from his body, and his aura became sharper. Qin Feng's comprehension of the Golden Gung slaying sword art was getting deeper and deeper. Today was the day he broke through to the 9th level of the Golden Gung slaying sword art. Suddenly, Qin Feng's body trembled, and a surge of sword qi shot out from the pores on his body. Qin Feng extended a palm and spread it open. Strands of invisible sword qi were born from his 5 fingers, slowly turning into a 9 feet long sword formed from innate invisible sword qi. Golden Gung slaying sword artist 9th level. Qin Feng opened his eyes, and a satisfied expression could be seen in his eyes. At this moment, there were only 20 days left until the 3-month assessment. The sound of wings flapping could be heard. Lord Ba flapped his wings with great difficulty and landed on the willow branch. Lord Ba tilted his bird head and sized up Qin Feng for a while before suddenly calling out, "Croak, croak, brother Feng, your strength seems to have increased a little." Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a faint blue sword light. Lord Ba's senses were very sharp. Now that he had reached the 9th level of the Golden Gung sword art, Qin Feng's control over the sword qi had become even better. He had even reached a state of subtlety. This state was very mysterious. Qin Feng was now confident that he could use a strand of sword qi the size of a hair to kill the larvae in the heart of the tree without harming the tree at all. This ability was very mysterious. If he cultivated the Golden Gung sword art to the 12th level, this ability would be strengthened. Qin Feng raised his head and looked at Little 8. Qin Feng did not know if it was an illusion, but he felt that Little 8 had become fatter. Suddenly, Qin Feng tilted his head and looked over. A few hundred steps away, Luan Xiaochuan and Zhao Yuan rushed over excitedly from the other side and arrived in front of him in a short while. "Cave Master, we have completed the task you gave us." Luan Xiaochuan licked his slightly dry lips and revealed a trace of joy. "Cave Master, I have done the calculations. Our Scarlet Sky Peak has a total of 8 types of Solomon's seals. The oldest among them is a piece of chicken head Solomon's seal that is 400 years old." "Very good." Qin Feng nodded. This piece of chicken head Solomon's seal that is 400 years old was of great use to Qin Feng. Qin Feng had always been thinking about the little thief who stole the elixir. This piece of chicken head Solomon's seal that is 400 years old would undoubtedly be an excellent bait if Qin Feng processed it. Apart from nourishing the blood and qi, this chicken head Solomon's seal is also known as Phoenix Blood Solomon's seal. It is a sacred elixir that nourishes the blood essence. After I use the one heavenly true water, the medicinal properties of this chicken head Solomon's seal will definitely rise to another level. A trace of craftiness flashed across Qin Feng's eyes as he thought inwardly. That little thing was injured and needs this elixir that nourishes the blood essence and yin qi. Once this piece of chicken head Solomon's seal appears in the spiritual garden, that little thing will most likely not be able to resist coming back to steal the elixir again. Once that little thing appears, it will not be able to escape from this cave master's trap. Qin Feng let out a gloomy smile. Qin Feng raised his head and looked at Luan Xiaochuan. Zhao Yuan and Qin Feng both had their heads lowered. Qin Feng's eyes flickered and landed on Luan Xiaochuan. Ever since this chief steward had submitted to him, he had been loyal and devoted. Especially when Wei Qinghuang and Su Mu attacked, Luan Xiaochuan's performance made Qin Feng even more satisfied. Moreover, this person was extremely clever and had a lot of value in nurturing. He might be able to become a trusted aide. After pondering for a while, Qin Feng raised his head and sized Luan Xiaochuan up with a smile. "Steward Luan, you seem to be cultivating a wood attribute technique." Somewhat reserved, Luan Xiaochuan scratched his head and said softly, "Cave Master's eyes are as sharp as torches. This subordinate is indeed cultivating a wood attribute foundation building martial arts technique. This technique is called Green Wood Arts and has a total of 10 levels. Although it is not a superior martial arts foundation building technique, it can still be considered a middle-grade technique." Luan Xiaochuan smiled embarrassedly and said, I'm not afraid of Cave Master's joke. It is precisely because of this green wood technique that I was able to walk ahead of the other brothers and cultivate the 4th level of the little art of cloud and rain, and was promoted to a high-level medicine boy of Scarlet Sky Peak. The green wood technique is not bad. Although it is only a medium-grade technique, its advantage is that it is stable and does not have any hidden dangers. Qin Feng looked at this clever youngster and said, Steward Luan, you've been busy these past few days. You've been diligent and loyal to this cave master. This cave master has seen it all. This cave master has always been fair. Merits will be rewarded, mistakes will be punished, and achievements will be rewarded. Luan Xiaochuan chuckled. Cave master praises me too much. I was only trying to save my life. Qin Feng chuckled. You are quite honest. After pondering for a while, Qin Feng said to Luan Xiaochuan, However, although this greenwood secret art is good, it is only a middle-level martial arts foundation building technique. If you practice this technique, even if you practice it to the 10th level, it will still be very difficult for you to break through to the pulse condensation stage. Come closer, I have a wood attribute technique here called Green Wood Jade Congealing Secret Art. Although this technique only has 12 levels, it can help you increase your chances of breaking through to the pulse condensation stage. Listen carefully. A cryptic technique of nearly 1,000 words came out of Qin Feng's mouth. Luan Xiaochuan was still in a daze, as if he was in a dream. It had to be said that a high-grade martial foundation building technique was the foundation of a family or a sect. Many noble families started out with one of their ancestors obtaining a high-grade martial foundation building technique. Then they established their own sect and slowly grew, becoming a giant that could suppress a town or a city. This kind of technique was often a secret that sects would not pass on. It was the foundation of a sect or a sect. It was the foundation of 1,000 years of foundation. Luan Xiaochuan could not imagine that Qin Feng would pass on such a technique to him. Luan Xiaochuan could not believe it, but he instinctively listened with all his strength. The more he listened, the more shocked he became. Gradually, a trace of intoxication and infatuation appeared on his face. This green wood condensing jade technique was definitely a high-grade martial foundation building technique. When Qin Feng finished reading the last word, a red light flashed across Luan Xiaochuan's face. Suppressing the ecstasy in his heart, he tidied his clothes and stepped forward. With a bang, he knelt in front of Qin Feng. Many thanks to Cave Master for passing on the technique. I will never forget such a great kindness. In the future, if Cave Master has any orders, I will not hesitate to sacrifice my life for it. On the side, seeing this scene, Zhao Yuan's eyes were slightly red. This Luan Xiaochuan had really picked up a great bargain. The Cave Master had passed on such a secret technique to him. This is the second update. Next is the third update, the 4th at noon, the 5th in the afternoon. Thank you brothers for your support. Please recommend me. Please bookmark me. Chapter 202. Qin Feng said with a smile as he swept his gaze across Zhao Yuan's face. Zhao Yuan, you don't have to be envious. As long as you work for me loyally, I won't be stingy with rewards. Qin Feng had countless cultivation techniques in his mind. To be able to be carefully collected and memorized by Qin Feng, any one of these cultivation techniques was the cream of the crop. These were all foundations. Zhao Yuan was overjoyed and bowed. This subordinate will do his best, even if I have to sacrifice my life. Qin Feng nodded. After a martial artist advanced to the 9th heaven of the martial Tao, he could condense the 6th inspiration. The 6th inspiration was mental strength. The stronger the 6th inspiration, the stronger the mental strength, and the better the memory. With just one reading, Luan Xiaochuan firmly remembered the 1,000 words green wood condensing jade technique. His eyes revealed a trace of ecstasy. Suddenly, Luan Xiaochuan's eyes flashed with a trace of hesitation. After a moment, Luan Xiaochuan gritted his teeth and raised his head to speak to the black-robed youth. "Cave Master, I have a request." With a trace of surprise in his eyes, Qin Feng raised his head and said slowly. "What request?" Luan Xiaochuan said with a trace of apprehension in his eyes. "Cave Master, I can pass this cultivation technique to the family. I was born in a small family in the Great Yen Kingdom. The Luan family has many old enemies. If I can pass this cultivation technique back, the family disciples will suffer less." Luan Xiaochuan was really apprehensive and uneasy. Because in Luan Xiaochuan's memory, the confidentiality of this cultivation technique was too important. It was enough to affect the life and death of a family. If the cultivation technique of the family was leaked, it was very likely that the family would go from prosperity to decline, or even to extinction. This Luan Xiaochuan was quite concerned about the family. Qin Feng directly interrupted with a smile. "Since this cultivation technique has been given to you, you have the right to pass it to anyone. You don't need to ask me about this matter. You can decide for yourself." Luan Xiaochuan beamed with joy and his mouth cracked. "Thank you, Cave Master." Zhao Yuan looked at this scene with a complicated expression. Zhao Yuan was very clear about Luan Xiaochuan's background. The Luan family that Luan Xiaochuan belonged to was just an ordinary small family, but if they were to obtain this cultivation method, they would definitely advance further in less than 100 years. They might even become a 1,000-year-old family that could influence an entire city. This was truly a great fortune. Right at this moment, Su Jie, dressed in a green robe, hurried over. "Greetings, Cave Master. There's no need for such formalities." From his chest pocket, Su Jie took out a silver-white token that was as thin as a cicada's wing. The front of the token was engraved with the word stars, while the back was engraved with dense secret runes of magic formations. "Cave Master, this is your token. There are a total of 18,000-year profound yin ginsengs. You can get 18 points and 1 merit point by memorizing them. Losing the red dragon yellow essence would result in a deduction of 5 points and 1 merit point. Therefore, there are a total of 13 points left." Su Jie looked enviously at Qin Feng. Reaching the 9th level of the little art of cloud and rain and being able to condense the one heavenly primordial water, the speed at which he earned points was like flying. 13 points could be used to purchase some low-grade spiritual herbs, spiritual pills, divine weapons, and secret manuals. If this was sold outside, it would be worth at least 1,300,000 taels of gold. With a deep gaze, Qin Feng received the token. The token shone with a silver light, and a silver secret rune appeared on the back. Qin Feng inserted his spiritual imprint into the token, and a number appeared before his eyes. 233. 233 points. Qin Feng's eyes revealed a trace of a smile. As the cave master of the Scarlet Sky Peak, Qin Feng, a level 5 inner disciple of the Medicine King Hall, earned 50 points every month. Qin Feng overdrew for 3 months in one go. This token originally had 150 points, and with the reward from the Green Dragon Chief, he had 100 points. When he bought Silly Bird and Little Rascal, he had used 30 points. In addition to the 18,000-year profound yin ginsengs, he had earned exactly 233 points. 233 points, this was a huge sum among the new students. "Very good, thank you for making this trip. This is subordinate's duty. As an outer disciple of the Jade Water Cave, it is my duty to share Cave Master's burdens." Su Jie's body was ramrod straight, and his loud voice caused Luan Xiaochuan and Zhao Yuan to raise their eyebrows. The two of them curled their lips and looked at each other, secretly cursing the bootlicker. "Good, very good." Qin Feng smiled lightly. "You guys can leave. I still have a few plates of freshly picked spiritual fruits in my cave. This cave master has already instructed Little 8. You guys can go and get some." These spiritual fruits will be beneficial to your cultivation. Thank you, Cave Master. The three of them were overjoyed. Go. Qin Feng waved his hand and the three of them left happily. Watching the three of them leave, Qin Feng recalled the news that Lu Chunyang, Yu Yao, and the others sent over a few days ago. They complained incessantly in the news. This was the first time the group of young masters and young ladies had experienced this kind of odd jobs. It could be said that they were miserable beyond words. Yu Yao said that she used the loom to weave cloth in the weaving workshop all day long. She, young Miss Yu, had never done this kind of thing in her entire life. Lu Chunyang was also complaining. The Lu family's famous genius had actually been reduced to one day forging iron in the smithy. According to Lu Chunyang, his neighbor, Lu Kanyang, was even more miserable than him. He stayed in the mouth of the volcano every day, and his image as an elegant young master was completely destroyed. It was already impossible to tell whether he was a kiln worker or a charcoal seller. Lu Chunyang rejoiced in other people's misfortune. However, with such heavy odd jobs, the points they could earn weren't that many. Each of them laughed bitterly. The corner of Qin Feng's mouth twitched. Apart from a few heads, the rest of the new students were all poor. But Qin Feng knew that no matter where, as long as the two basic cultivation methods that All Stars College gave to them were cultivated to perfection, they would be able to completely break free from this situation. For example, Qin Feng's little art of cloud and rain was at perfection. To condense the one heavenly primordial water, as long as Qin Feng worked hard, the points would flow endlessly. Thinking about the little art of cloud and rain, Qin Feng shook his head, his eyes filled with helplessness. At this time, even if the little art of cloud and rain was Deshang, it had already merged into his Xiantian Abijin. Qin Feng could only condense 36 pellets of the one heavenly primordial water in a day. Qin Feng takes out a bottle of medicinal pills from his bosom and opens his palm. This is a bottle of jade spirit pills. Out of the 3 bottles of jade spirit pills, Qin Feng has already used 2 bottles. Borrowing the power of the 2 jade pills, Qin Feng had already reached the late stage of the 10th heavenly layer of the martial way. But if he wanted to break through to the 13th layer of the martial way, he would need at least a few more bottles. Qin Feng asked Luan Xiaochuan to inquire in the contribution hall. A bottle of jade pills was extremely expensive, requiring 50 points and 1 merit point. Qin Feng had enough points, but merit points were hard to come by. With Qin Feng's current net worth, he couldn't even afford 1 bottle. At this time, a familiar figure suddenly turned back. Zhao Yuan. Qin Feng gazed at the green-robed, somewhat taciturn young man. After some hesitation, Zhao Yuan suddenly said, "Cave Master, I thought of something, but I don't know if I should say it or not." "What is it? Say it." "It has to do with the Hidden Dragon scoreboard." "Hidden Dragon scoreboard?" Qin Feng frowned. "What kind of scoreboard is this?" Speaking of this scoreboard, Zhao Yuan's face was slightly agitated, and his heart was unsettled. This is a scoreboard that includes the new students and the previous batch of All Stars College expert. The scoreboard is based on points. This scoreboard is released once every 2 years. If you can enter the top 10 of this scoreboard, you will receive a generous amount of points and merit points as a reward. Furthermore, the person in first place will receive a black iron grade battlesuit. What? Battlesuit? Qin Feng suddenly stood up. This is the 3rd update. The 4th update is at 4 p.m., and the 5th update is at 6 p.m. Please recommend me, please add me. Chapter 203. Battlesuits were the reason why All Stars College was able to establish itself in the domain of stars and stand proudly above countless second-rate forces. Battlesuits were also called All Stars Battlesuit. Every battlesuit was unique and corresponded to a star in the sky. They had a unique power and could grow and evolve along with the martial artist. According to the information that Qin Feng obtained from All Stars College, battle suits were divided into several grades. The most basic grade was the black iron battlesuit. Above that, there were bronze battlesuits, silver battlesuits, gold battlesuits. Qin Feng had seen Taurus Star General Luo Xian, who was a powerful existence wearing a gold battlesuit. Other than having a strong defense, battlesuits could also increase the martial artist's strength, as well as assist the martial artist's cultivation and many other precious effects. It could even trigger the power of the stars in the sky. Combining the supreme true teachings of All Stars College, one could condense a star mark and become the lord of the immemorial stars. This was the most anticipated part. Every battle suit was extremely precious and would attract countless geniuses to covet it. Qin Feng was moved. After a moment, Qin Feng's face gradually turned gloomy as his gaze fell on Zhao Yuan. Is the Hidden Dragon rankings open to all the experts of All Stars College? If this ranking was open to the entire All Stars College, this batch of freshmen who had just entered All Stars College wouldn't even need to compete. Zhao Yuan lowered his head. His eyes were filled with envy and then dimmed as he spoke. Cave Master, this isn't the case. This Hidden Dragon rankings is only open to the freshmen of All Stars College and the previous batch of students. This ranking is released every 2 years. The goal of All Stars College is to nurture the new generation of experts. Qin Feng's eyes flickered as his state of mind calmed down. He pondered in his heart. If that's the case, this batch of freshmen who entered All Stars College and the previous batch of geniuses who entered All Stars College can only enter the Hidden Dragon rankings. Although it's a year apart, the geniuses who entered All Stars College last year might have a certain advantage. However, it's not like the new students don't have any hope. Calculating in his heart, Qin Feng's eyes flickered. When will this ranking be released? Zhao Yuan said. The Hidden Dragon rankings will be released 3 months after the new students of All Stars College enroll. The rankings will be kept for 3 months, and the final rankings will be decided after 3 months. I see. Qin Feng's gaze was leisurely. 3 months after the new students entered the school, wouldn't that be after the first comprehensive assessment? All right, I already know about this matter. You may leave. Qin Feng waved Zhao Yuan back. Qin Feng temporarily suppressed the throbbing in his heart. Currently, the most important thing was the upcoming freshman assessment. Qin Feng knew that if he wanted to stabilize his position as the Azure Dragon Academy's first seat, he was still somewhat lacking. Qin Feng calmed down and put all his energy into the cultivation of the gunmetal sword art. Beside the heavenly lake, clear waves rippled and the water's spiritual energy was extremely abundant. Beside the lake, the blade of the northern underworld divine water sword sank into the Tao platform, emitting a faint spiritual aura. With the help of the northern underworld divine water sword, Qin Feng smoothly cultivated the 10th level of the gunmetal sword art after 5 days. His entire body was bursting with sword qi. Qin Feng somewhat understood why senior sister Baiyun said that obtaining a spiritual sword would allow his gunmetal sword art to undergo an earth-shattering transformation. Injecting his spiritual imprint into the northern underworld divine water sword and being integrated with this high-grade spiritual sword was equivalent to directly flipping through a notebook. The gunmetal sword art contained all kinds of mysteries and cryptic mysteries. Under this state, he could easily comprehend it in a short period of time. This was much faster than comprehending it by himself. Qin Feng opened his eyes and looked at the gradually intertwining formless sword in his palm. 9 feet was the limit of this formless sword. Following Qin Feng's successful cultivation of the 10th level of the gunmetal slaying sword art, this 9-foot-long formless sword instead transformed into 2. Qin Feng stretched out his other hand and another formless sword appeared in his palm. Qin Feng tried to use his spiritual power to control the 2 formless swords. The 2 formless swords in his palms floated up and started to revolve around his body. Multitasking. Swoosh. When Qin Feng started to control them, he was a little clumsy and always lost sight of one. Qin Feng's soul was strong. After dozens of times, he quickly adapted to this multitasking method. Qin Feng's gaze fell on a small piece of black reef in the lake. He pointed his finger and two sword lights swept across the void one after the other. Bang! 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 The lake water in the heavenly lake roared and burst. After two consecutive roars, the black reef was instantly blasted into pieces by the sword lights. A very powerful sword technique. Qin Feng sensed the potential of this sword technique. If he could cultivate the 11th level of the gung metal sword art, he would be able to control 4 9-feet formless swords at once. If he cultivated it to the 12th level, he would be able to control 8 9-feet formless swords. Qin Feng had already faintly touched on some of the mysteries of the 4th level of the sword Dao, sword flight. Perhaps this golden gung sword art was originally a sword art that allowed one to fly on a sword. Qin Feng thought to himself as he felt that he had guessed the truth. Qin Feng tried to use the gung metal sword art to control the dark north godly water sword. Qin Feng closed his eyes and gathered his 6th spiritual sense. He injected his spiritual imprint into the dark north godly water sword. Clang! With a crisp sword sound, the dark north godly water sword gradually trembled and floated up. Qin Feng seemed to be able to control this spiritual sword. After a sword light, the dark north godly water sword turned into a cold light that swept across the void. Swoosh! He used too much force and actually blasted it into the ground. Buzz! 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 The dark north godly water sword buzzed from the ground. However, after sinking into the ground, it actually retreated. Qin Feng opened his eyes and glanced over as a bitter smile appeared on his face. This was caused by his lack of proficiency in controlling it. Sure enough, this golden gung slaying sword art is a sword art that allows one to fly on a sword. Qin Feng thought to himself as joy appeared in his eyes. Although it failed, it also proved Qin Feng's guess. Qin Feng pointed his finger and released a trace of innate qi. A cold light burst out from the ground. With a clang, the spiritual sword returned to its scabbard. Qin Feng stroked the dark north godly water sword. His eyes flickered with wisdom. This time, Qin Feng tried to control the dark north godly water sword with the 10th layer of the gung metal sword art. Buzz! Buzz! The dark north godly water sword flew out and turned into a cold light that swam around Qin Feng. This state was very unfamiliar to Qin Feng. It was also very novel. It was as if he had merged with the dark north godly water sword. He could move freely in the air like a bird. However, Qin Feng also felt a kind of limitation. The dark north godly water sword couldn't go more than 1 zhang away from him. Once it went beyond this range, Qin Feng would lose control of the dark north godly water sword. The dark north godly water sword would lose control and fall. After a while, Qin Feng opened his eyes. He held the dark north godly water sword with one hand and waved his arm. The sword returned to its scabbard smoothly. My mental power is still not strong enough. Limited by my martial realm, if I want to reach the realm of sword flight, I'm afraid I still need a period of cultivation. Qin Feng sighed in his heart. He felt slightly regretful. Qin Feng raised his head. The moon was already high in the sky. At this moment, Luan Xiaochuan hurriedly walked over from the lakeside. Luan Xiaochuan couldn't hide the excitement in his heart. Cave Master, the thief who stole the spiritual herbs, is here. This is the 4th update. The 5th update is at night. Please recommend me, please add me also. Congratulations to the birth of the first deacon of this book. Congratulations to him for becoming the first C of reincarnation expert in this book. Sprinkle flowers. Chapter 204. Night fell and the moon hung high in the sky. Sparks of fire lit up the scarlet sky peak under the night sky. Squads of green-robed medicine apprentices carried torches with sharp gazes as they carefully inspected the area, not letting go of any blind spots. After a few days, the sentries here had become even tighter. There was a sentry every 3 steps and a sentry every 5 steps. This was not an exaggeration at all. Squads of green-robed medicine apprentices patrolled with the Sky Lake at the center of the Scarlet Sky Peak. The core was the area around the Spirit Garden. This area was also the most frequently patrolled. This was a huge spirit garden and herb garden. This spirit garden seemed to have condensed more than half of the essence of the Scarlet Sky Peak. The life essence was so dense that it formed clouds and rose into the air, looking mysterious and unfathomable. In the spirit garden, stalks of spirit herbs were absorbing the essence of heaven and earth to nourish themselves. Every stalk was translucent and resplendent, emitting an elegant fragrance. A long time ago, this area was originally a place where spirit gathered. In the distance, there was a rock that looked like the head of a dragon that was pouring its essence into this spirit garden. In this spirit garden, apart from spirit herbs, there were also many stalks of treasured herbs that looked like they were carved out of corals and jadeite. They dazzled the eyes and caused one to gulp uncontrollably. At this moment, the spirit garden had expanded from the original 7 stalks to 25 stalks. 19 stalks of 1,000-year-old profound ginseng were gathered together. The first stalk of 1,000-year-old profound ginseng had become the king of these 19 stalks. The dark green leaves swayed and rustled in the breeze. Under the moonlight, they swallowed and spat out the brilliance of the moon. In a corner of the spirit garden, there was a 500-year-old chicken head sealwort. The green leaves of this chicken head sealwort were tender and glistening. They were suffused with a bright spiritual light and were filled with spirit energy. Among the leaves there were small, pale yellow flowers that emitted a bright spiritual light. This chicken head sealwort was 500 years old and had gradually grown human features and golden root. The spirit garden's periphery had been opened up by the skillful medicine apprentices. These herb gardens were close to the spirit garden and were filled with spirit energy, making them a rare treasure land. In these herb gardens there were also clumps of rare and verdant herbs being cultivated. There were golden crowgrass, purple nightgrass, dragon's blood grass, broken bone grass and other famous herbs. Although the value of these herbs could not be compared to the 7 stalks of spirit herbs, the price of each stalk would not be too low in an auction. This was a special income for the medical apprentices. It was also because of these recently opened medicinal gardens that the misunderstandings between the medicine apprentices and the cave master Qin Feng gradually disappeared. Under Qin Feng's leadership, the cohesiveness of Scarlet Sky Peak was growing. During the holidays, Scarlet Sky Peak would definitely become an iron plate. There were clouds tonight and the moonlight was bright. Rustle! A gust of wind blew, and a beautiful white creature came out from under the green leaves of a purple peony. It was soft and white, and this little thing seemed to be abnormally vigilant. It had 3 tails, and when it walked, it made no sound. It shuttled through the clumps of medicinal herbs, its white light flickering in and out. It was a little fox, a white little fox with 3 tails. This was the descendant of the legendary innate true spirit 9-tailed celestial fox, the 3-tailed spirit fox. Under the night sky, Qin Feng's figure unknowingly appeared behind the dragon head rock on one side of the spirit garden. Sticking close to the ice-cold rock and looking down from above, Qin Feng's gaze landed on this beautiful, almost bewitching creature. This white little thing looked left and right. It leaped out from the purple peony shrub. Its white figure was light and agile, and its speed was extremely fast, disappearing almost in a flash. A group of patrolling medicine apprentices walked past. This white little thing's big tail was circulating with brilliance, and it instantly transformed into an ordinary medicinal herb. One of the medicine apprentices walked past this medicinal herb, but he did not notice the abnormality under his feet. Looking at this scene, Qin Feng was slightly startled, and he thought to himself, This little thing's bloodline is so pure. Its 3 tails must have awakened 3 types of innate divine abilities. The divine ability that transformed into a grass should be the 9-tailed celestial fox's illusory divine ability, and the other divine ability must be a restriction-breaking divine ability. Only with that would this little thing be able to disregard the formations and restrictions of the various peaks. However, I don't know what the last innate divine ability is. Qin Feng thought to himself. He guessed that it had something to do with escaping. Otherwise, this little thing might not have been able to escape from that magnate. After the patrolling medicine apprentices walked past, the white little thing's body flashed with a faint white light, and it turned back into a little white fox spirit. The little thing's figure flashed, and in the next moment, it appeared not far from the spirit garden. Looking at the spirit herbs in the garden, the little thing hesitated for a moment. It looked around again and saw that there was no one around. With a flash of white light, it landed lightly in the spirit garden. The spirit herbs in the garden already had spirituality. When the little white thing entered the garden, it was like a weasel entering a chicken coop. The spirit herbs trembled in fear, and they could not even run away. The little white thing walked elegantly like a king. In a few steps, it arrived in front of the phoenix blood yellow essence. It picked up the yellow essence with its mouth and glanced at the other spirit herbs in the garden. A trace of reluctance flashed in the little thing's eyes. It whimpered softly, and then walked out of the garden with light steps. Soon, it disappeared in a flash of white light. This process only took a few breaths of time, and a stalk of spirit medicine had silently disappeared from the spirit garden. The group of medicine apprentices did not notice anything. Seeing the little white thing enter the garden and pick up the spirit herb, Luan Xiaochuan was anxious. Just as he was about to jump out, Qin Feng held him back and let the little white thing take the spirit herb away. 15 minutes after the little thing left, Qin Feng and the others came out from behind the dragon head rock. In a few steps, they arrived at the spirit garden. At this time, the phoenix blood yellow essence had disappeared, and only the soil was left. Looking at the empty pit, Luan Xiaochuan raised his head and looked in the direction where the little white fox left. He could not help but ask, "Cave Master, why didn't we stop it?" Qin Feng tilted his head and looked at Luan Xiaochuan. "Do you think we can catch it?" A trace of hesitation flashed across Luan Xiaochuan's face. "I don't think we can." "Of course not," Qin Feng sneered. "This little thing can escape from so many big shots and magnates. How can we catch it?" Looking in the direction where the little 3-tailed fox left, Qin Feng revealed a cunning smile. "If that's the case, why did we alarm it? Why did we leave such a bad impression on it? But if we do that, wouldn't our spiritual herbs be wasted for nothing?" Luan Xiaochuan's eyes fell on the empty pit and his heart ached. A 500-year-old phoenix blood yellow essence was something that could only be found by chance. If he could swallow it, he could at least break through a small cultivation level. Of course it won't be wasted. How could this cave master's spirit item be so easily swallowed? Qin Feng's gaze falls on the money grubber Luan Xiaochuan. Qin Feng changes the topic. "Go and prepare another 300 to 400 earth essence and send it to my cave abode tomorrow." "Prepare another one." Luan Xiaochuan was stunned and then muttered, "Are we going to let the little fox ruin it again?" Looking in the direction where the little fox left, Qin Feng's lips curved into a faint smile. "Well said." "What?" Luan Xiaochuan's eyes widened. Qin Feng said, "The 3-tailed fox is not an ordinary savage beast. We can't be too simple or violent when dealing with it. If we want to tame it, we need to be patient." A mysterious smile appeared on Qin Feng's face. It was as if he had stolen a chicken. Qin Feng was not afraid that the little fox would steal the earth essence. He was only afraid that it would not eat it. Qin Feng did not know that when he was thinking of ways to get the little fox, the great Sunlight Temple, which was adjacent to All Stars College, was destroyed. In fact, the destruction of the Great Sunlight Temple had a lot to do with Qin Feng. This is the 5th update. There's one more update tonight. Chapter 205. 3 days later, Qin Feng received a shocking piece of news. The Great Sunlight Temple has been destroyed. Standing on the platform, Qin Feng waved Su Jia away. His face was strange. The Great Sunlight Temple was a second-rate power. Although it was not as strong as All Stars College, it was still considered strong among the second-rate powers. The Great Sunlight Temple was located in the Northern Spirit Domain, which was adjacent to the domain of all stars. In the Northern Spirit Domain, it was also an overlord power, with many countries worshipping it. In Qin Feng's memory, following the arrival of the Golden Age, this power would have a large number of heaven's favored children in the future, and then they would shine brightly. They would move unhindered, become the overlord of the Northern Spirit Domain, and become another first-rate monster in the continent. But now it had come to an early end. The Great Sunlight Temple was a name that Qin Feng was very familiar with. This name made Qin Feng think of the mysterious beautiful lady in white. That mysterious lady was injured by the Great Sunlight Temple's signature technique, Great Sun Bright Purple Cloud. Qin Feng's virginity was given to this beautiful lady. At that time, Qin Feng was only 13 years old. At that time, Qin Feng picked up the unconscious beautiful lady in white from the riverbank. Then, he disgracefully took advantage of the moment when the lady in white was unconscious and rolled in the sheets with her. Of course, Qin Feng's reason at that time was very honorable. In order to cultivate, in order to change the 3-yin waist physique. In order to walk out from the shadow of the Qin family. At that time, for some unknown reason, Qin Feng left behind a great light immovable seal technique that was specially used to restrain the light true power. Biling sect. His mouth muttered this unfamiliar name. Qin Feng's expression was strange. According to the news he received, this sect had destroyed the Great Sunlight Temple that had been passed down for thousands of years. He then became the overlord of the Northern Spiritual Region. According to the information he had received, the Biling sect seemed to have grasped a special secret technique that could restrain the majority of light true power. It was by relying on this secret technique that the Biling sect was able to suppress the Great Sunlight Temple with an overwhelming advantage in a short period of time. These days, the Biling sect had become the focus of attention in the Northern Spiritual Realm, and even a few of the major realms in the Northern Spiritual Realm. Regarding this news, Qin Feng felt slightly strange and did not pay any more attention to it. However, Qin Feng had some guesses about the identity of the woman in white. At this moment, on the lakeside not far away, Luan Xiaochuan's hurried figure appeared 100 steps away. Luan Xiaochuan said in a hurried voice as he walked to the front. "Cave Master, the Medicine King Hall's envoy invites you in?" Emissary of the Medicine King Hall? Qin Feng stood up as he pondered in his heart. What is the Medicine King Hall's envoy doing here? Could it be that I killed their elder last time and they want to settle the score? Qin Feng walked towards the Jade Water Cave as he pondered. After 10 breaths, a young man wearing a scholar's robe appeared in front of Qin Feng. This young man was around 24 or 25 years old. Although he looked like an ordinary person, his appearance was ordinary and his face was kind. If he was thrown into a crowd, he would be easily forgotten. However, Qin Feng could tell that he was a strong person with one look. This person's cultivation was definitely not inferior to Su Mu's. Seeing the black-robed young man arrive, the scholar's robed young man turned around and looked at him. As expected, heroes come from the young. Cave Master Qin Feng is famous. Now that I have seen you, you are indeed extraordinary. I wonder who you are. I am Duan Mu Rong. Duan Mu Rong, one of the 4 great elders of the Medicine King Hall. Qin Feng was shocked. The 4 great elders of the Medicine King Hall were of high status and power. Among them, Qin Feng had seen Su Mu. However, Su Mu was ranked last among the 4 great elders. The person in front of him who was ranked second was definitely not someone like Su Mu could compare to. As if seeing the hesitation in Qin Feng's eyes, Duan Mu Rong said, "Brother Qin Feng, you don't have to be surprised. I am also here on orders. I am here on orders from the Star Sect to gather 12 disciples who have cultivated the minor art of cloud and rain to the 9th level. Gather at the Medicine King Hall. I know that Brother Qin Feng is an ancient martial art practitioner who has cultivated the minor art of cloud and rain to the 12th level. I wonder if Brother Qin Feng is willing to make this trip?" After pondering for a while, Qin Feng felt that this could be an opportunity. Qin Feng heard from Bai Yun that Xingqian School rarely sent out summons. However, every time it did, it was an opportunity. As long as one could grab hold of this opportunity, they might be able to obtain some unexpected benefit. There had been precedents over the years. Many disciples had obtained great benefits from Xingqian School's missions. After pondering for a moment, Qin Feng said, "Since it is the Star Sect's summons, Qin Feng will naturally go. However, 10 days later, the new students' comprehensive assessment will be around the corner. If I can't make it to All Stars College in time to participate in the assessment, I'm afraid." Duan Mu Rong smiled. "That's not a problem. The Medicine King Hall's 2 assessments can also be carried out directly at the Medicine King Hall. The results will still be valid. Later on, I'll just go to the Medicine King Hall to take the comprehensive assessment. This won't cause any delay. That's for the best." Qin Feng's eyes flickered. After summoning Luan Xiaochuan, Su Jie, Zhao Yuan and the rest, he gave them a few instructions before following Elder Duan Mu Rong to the Medicine King Hall. The Medicine King Hall was located in the Purple Star enclosure. The area occupied by All Stars College was divided into 3 enclosures. The first was the Heavenly Market enclosure. There were many blessed lands in the Heavenly Market enclosure, but most of them were low-grade blessed lands. The second was the Supreme Palace enclosure. The blessed lands in the Supreme Palace enclosure were generally of a higher grade. They were all grade 4 and above blessed lands. Those who lived there were mostly All Stars College's disciples with higher cultivation and status, as well as various residences' mid-level elders. Qin Feng's Scarlet Sky Peak was located in the Supreme Palace enclosure. The third was the Purple Myrtle enclosure. There weren't many blessed lands here, but all of them were grade 7 and above blessed lands. The lords of various residences and halls resided here. The Medicine King Hall was also located here. Those who resided here were disciples of Qin Feng's level. The Purple Myrtle enclosure wasn't far from the Scarlet Sky Peak. Along the way, Qin Feng inquired from Elder Duan Mu Rong and gradually learned some inside information. It turned out that the reason why the Medicine King Hall had gathered so many disciples who had cultivated the minor art of cloud and rain to the 12th level was because there was a problem with a heaven-grade spirit root in the Medicine King Hall. Of course, the people from the Medicine King Hall weren't counting on these disciples to save this spirit root. Instead, they were trying to use an array to condense a drop of highly concentrated first heavenly primordial water. The first heavenly primordial water was the most powerful of the 36 types of acquired heavenly primordial water. It was also known as the water of life. It was a treasure of the water element and could indeed create a spirit root. And this array required 12 practitioners who had cultivated the minor art of cloud and rain to the 9th level and above to control it. This idea is really whimsical. This first heavenly primordial water isn't the same first heavenly primordial water. This is completely impossible. When Qin Feng heard this news, he shook his head repeatedly. As an array grandmaster, he scoffed at such a whimsical idea. Usually, practitioners like Qin Feng, who cultivated the minor art of cloud and rain, were also known to be able to condense the first heavenly primordial water. However, this wasn't truly pure first heavenly primordial water. it could only be considered as having a trace of the first heavenly primordial water's power. In Qin Feng's opinion, it was unrealistic to gather 12 practitioners to condense the true first heavenly primordial water. Even if he gathered 100 or 2, it wouldn't work. However, in Qin Feng's mind, there was an array that could truly condense the first heavenly primordial water. This is the first update. The second update will be tomorrow morning. Finally, please recommend a wave of tickets, please bookmark, please reward. Chapter 206. Along the way, they passed by dozens of mountain peaks. Duanmu Rong personally went up the mountain and gradually gathered 12 martial way experts who had cultivated the 9th level of Little Art of Cloud and Rain. Qin Feng awkwardly realized that apart from him, the other 12 martial way experts were all at the meridian stage. 9 men and 3 women, each of them elegant and graceful. These martial way experts greeted each other in 2s and 3s. Occasionally, his gaze would sweep past Qin Feng. His eyes were indifferent as they swept past. With coldness and scrutiny. It was as if dragons did not want to coexist with snakes. Qin Feng's eyes were calm as he focused on hurrying along. Qin Feng could see that these experts did not place him on the same level in their hearts. There was a huge chasm between the meridian stage and the 9 heavens stage of the martial way. Qin Feng's expression was calm and he did not care about such gazes. This way, he had peace and quiet. After several hours, the group gradually approached the leading purple myrtle enclosure of the 3 enclosures. Purple Myrtle Enclosure was the leader of the 3 enclosures and gathered the essence of the stars. The terrain here was higher and the essence of life was denser. The terrain protruded like a dragon's spine supporting the sky. The mountain peaks were like spiraling dragons. This was a dragon vein. Tens of thousands of mountain peaks stood there like the head of a dragon. Giant dragons spiraled and soared. Tens of thousands of giant dragons roared and were all formed from the essence of the world. These mountain peaks already had a majestic aura. Approaching slightly, one would find it difficult to breathe. They were like ancient divine mountains. There were many ancient herbs in the mountains. Each stalk was translucent and gave birth to spiritual light. Over the long years, these herbs had grown here. Even if someone plucked them, their roots would not be cut off. Over the years, these herbs had already gained sentience and any one of them was priceless. Qin Feng's eyes were filled with amazement. Compared to these blessed lands, Qin Feng felt that although his Scarlet Sky Peak was a high-grade spirit mountain, it was as simple as a pig's nest. Qin Feng made up his mind to properly manage Scarlet Sky Peak after returning. The Medicine King Main Hall was located on the 7 Stars platform in the depths of the Purple Myrtle enclosure. When Qin Feng and his group arrived, they felt as if they were standing on a huge star. A dense and pure star essence gushed out from the top of their heads. They breathed in and out and immediately felt as if their bodies were as light as a feather. There was an illusion that their strength had increased greatly. The pavilions in the distance and the nearby mountains seemed to have sunk into the side of the 7 ancient stars. It was indescribably ethereal and spiritual. It was a pure and flawless silver-white color. Qin Feng and the others inclined their heads, only to see that the sky was as dark as ink. The stars and moon had disappeared, and they only saw 7 ancient stars directly appearing in the sky. They were incomparably large, blotting out the sky and emitting boundless starlight. There was a bit of commotion in the group. Several experts were discussing in low voices. This is the 7 Stars Arena. Rumor has it that this is a rare land of coiling dragons. Senior Marshal Brother Liu, what is the Coiling Dragonland? It's a treasure land where several dragon veins converge. Look at the terrain here. It's like a true dragon. Flying dragons in the sky, hidden dragons in the abyss. There might be a true dragon cave underground, a nest of 10,000 dragons. Qin Feng took a look at the valley in front of him, and his eyes narrowed slightly. This valley was indeed a true treasure land. Such a terrain was originally very rare. Flying dragons coiled around, and true dragons spat out their essence. With the power of 10,000 mountains, this land was nurtured. Most of the essence of the spiritual mountains and blessed lands were gathered here. Especially the jade platform in the center. Someone had even set up an array formation to receive the essence of the 7 stars of heaven and earth. Qin Feng's tyrannical divine soul sensed that there was a chaos origin embryo being nurtured in this jade platform. Once this chaos origin embryo was nurtured into a paradise, this place would immediately be promoted to a pure land and become one of the few sacred grounds in the world. All Stars College is really generous. Qin Feng thought to himself. Even if he was the one who set up this terrain, he wouldn't be able to do so. The 12 of them rushed to the entrance of the valley and were immediately stopped by 2 men who were dressed like devil gods. The few of you wait here. I will go and inform them. Duanmu Rong swept a glance across the group. His figure flashed past the 2 men and entered the valley. Everyone retreated and each of them found a rock to sit on or stand. Qin Feng leaned on a rock. Qin Feng's gaze faintly fell on the battle clothes of the 2 experts at the entrance of the valley. Both of them were silver-white battle clothes. The battle clothes were silver-white and looked abnormally gorgeous. It reflected the 2 people's faces as if they were carved by knives and axes. They were like 2 divine generals guarding the heavenly palace. Clearly, the 2 of them were Silver Star Generals. Heavenly Snake Star General, Scorpio Star General. After a moment, Qin Feng's gaze moved slightly as he sensed the 2 people guarding the stars. The 7 stars platform summoned 7 ancient stars from the 9 heavens to guard this place. The 7 stars were Heavenly Snake Star, Scorpio Star, Heavenly Dragon Star, Heavenly Horse Star, Heavenly Dog Star, Heavenly Qin Star, and Heavenly Dark Star. The starlight on the 2 people's bodies resonated strongly with the Heavenly Snake Star and Scorpio Star in the sky. They were the 7 Silver Star Generals guarding the 7 Stars platform. A young girl recognized the 2 people and walked forward with a sweet smile. Senior Brother Tianning, Senior Brother Zhenglong, what's wrong? Is it your turn to guard the 7 Stars platform today? The Heavenly Snake Star General Zhenglong's gaze fell on the young girl, and his eyes lit up. Junior Sister Long Ling, it's you. The 2 of them looked a little intimate, as if they were lovers. Who is this Tian Ying and Zhenglong? Why do they seem to be very familiar with Senior Sister Long Ling? Qin Feng looked in the direction of the voice and saw a young man in white brocade clothes asking another young man with a jealous face. Zhenglong is the head of the 4th year of the Azure Dragon Academy, and he is also the guardian of the Heavenly Snake Star Battle Clothes. I advise you not to provoke him. And that Senior Brother Tianning, he is the head of the 4th year of the Black Tortoise Academy and the guardian of the Scorpio Star Battle Clothes. He is also a ruthless character. You'd better give up. Who is Senior Sister Long Ling? She is one of the top 10 beauties of our All Stars College. She has countless pursuers. You and I shouldn't dream of eating a swan. The young man in white had a gloomy face and was a little unhappy. He glanced at Long Ling, lowered his head and gritted his teeth. His gaze fell on Zhenglong with burning jealousy. Long Ling was his childhood sweetheart's fiancé. Standing on the spot, Qin Feng sized up Zhenglong and Tianning. Most importantly, his gaze fell on the battle clothes on their bodies. The astral battle clothes' initial grade was black iron, but the battle clothes would slowly evolve as the owner breathed in the astral essence. It was obvious that the silver battle clothes had evolved twice, from black iron to bronze to silver. Qin Feng's powerful divine soul sensed that the 2 wearing the silver battle clothes were like astral demon gods, constantly devouring a huge amount of astral essence. This ability to devour astral essence was several times stronger than an ordinary sea wheel expert. In other words, the 2 of them cultivating for a year was comparable to an ordinary sea wheel expert cultivating for 4 to 5 years. This was a terrifying increase. Qin Feng's eyes revealed a trace of passion. This battle clothes were simply a treasure that gathered cultivation, defense, and killing into one. Seems like I have to think of a way to fight for the hidden dragon rankings. Qin Feng sighed inwardly. There were too many monks and too little gruel for battle clothes. Jinglong seemed to have sensed something and followed the gaze that had been staring at him. It fell on a young man in black robes. Late stage of the 10th firmament of the martial path? Jinglong was shocked. Almost everyone present was at the meridian's condensation realm and above. Jinglong shook his head and thought in his heart. Isn't this Duanmu Rong a little too negligent? Why did he find a little guy at the 10th heavenly layer of the martial way? What's the use of a little guy at the 10th heavenly layer of the martial way? If that elder knew about this, he would definitely be scolded. At this moment, Duanmu Rong hurried over from the valley. Everyone, follow me. Duanmu Rong called out and led the group into the valley. This is the second update. The third, fourth, and fifth updates are in the afternoon. Thank you for your votes. As usual, I hope you can recommend me. Chapter 207. The three young girls walked in front. The three young girls had graceful figures and were graceful and moving. Among them, Long Ling, who was dressed in a blue palace gown, had the best appearance. She was devastatingly beautiful, and her every frown and smile was like a lotus flower in clear water. The other two young girls, Lu Rong and Peng Qi, were also rare beauties. Many young men silently looked at the three young girls as if they were thieves. When the young girls turned around, they quickly puffed out their chests and acted like gentlemen. The group of young men was in the ascendant. Qin Feng walked at the back with an amused look in his eyes. Not long after, a huge hall appeared in front of them. Medicine King Hall. The large golden words in front of the hall carried a dignified aura. The expressions of Qin Feng and the others turned grave and solemn. From afar, before they even entered the hall, they heard two people arguing fiercely. Master Fan, there's a problem with the formation core of your formation. Although the water of the 7-star dragon spring contains rich life essence, if it's used to condense the one heavenly true water, I'm afraid there's a big problem. One of the voices said disdainfully. Zhuo Song, what do you know? You're just an ordinary grade 3 mystic cultivator. There's still a long way to go before you're a grade 4 mystic cultivator. How can you understand the path of a grade 4 mystic cultivator? The other voice was furious. Fan Qinshan, what does this have to do with the grade of a mystic cultivator? The path of a mystic cultivator is interconnected and has its own standard. Your formation has a problem with one look. Unexpectedly, Qin Feng felt that one of the voices was abnormally familiar. Zhuo Song. Qin Feng instantly reacted when he heard the other mystic cultivator's impolite address. Shanha City's Elder Zhuo had arrived. Elder Zhuo is actually here. Looks like Hong Lian and the others should be here too. Qin Feng looked up. At this moment, a white, fat, white-haired old man with a flushed face was arguing with another mystic cultivator. This old man was none other than the president of Shanha City's Mystic Cultivator Association, Elder Zhuo Song. However, it seemed that Elder Zhuo was at a disadvantage. Opposite him was a middle-aged level 4 mystic cultivator with a sneer on his face. At this moment, this mystic cultivator called Fan Qinshan was looking down at Zhuo Song from above. All right, there's no need for the two masters to argue. Both of you are honored guests of All Stars College. Don't hurt the harmony between the two. At the side, a green-robed old man tried to smooth things over. This old man was dressed in a long green robe and had a slender figure. His long, dark green hair fluttered in the wind. His eyebrows were slender and there was a gentle look to them. At this moment, the green-robed old man saw Duanmu Rong walking over with a group of 12 people. Taking a few steps forward, Duanmu Rong said respectfully, Elder Qing Mu, the 12 disciples are here. Qing Mu turned his head and his gaze landed on the group of 12 people. Finally, His gaze landed on the black-robed young man in the center. Qing Mu frowned as he glared at Duanmu Rong. Late stage of the 10th firmament of the martial way. Duanmu Rong, didn't I ask you to find 12 practitioners who have cultivated the little art of cloud and rain to the 9th level and above? Why did you find a little fellow? Duanmu Rong's expression was indifferent as he said in a low voice. Elder, this is the Azure Dragon Institute's new first seat, Qin Feng. He has already cultivated the little art of cloud and rain to the 12th level. What? 12th level? Qing Mu's expression changed. The other 11 young men and women were shocked. Their first reaction was to look at the black-robed young man that they had not paid attention to. The 12th level of the little art of cloud and rain. This was unbelievable. The few of them remembered clearly that Qin Feng was a new student this year and had entered All Stars College for less than 3 months. To be able to cultivate the little art of cloud and rain to the 12th level within 3 months was a fantasy no matter how one looked at it. Everyone knew that the little art of cloud and rain was easy at first but difficult later on. After the 6th level, each level was harder than ascending to heaven. Especially after the 9th level, some people would be stuck at the 9th level for their entire life. Among the 11 young men and women present, most of them were still at the 10th or 11th level. Only a few of them had reached the 12th level. What a scary kid! Silently cultivating the little art of cloud and rain to the 12th level, this is shocking. Is he still a new student? No wonder Duanmu Rong chose him. Some people had a complicated expression. Long Ling glanced at the calm young man and her eyes calmed down. The white-clothed young man, Zhang Mu, saw this scene and a trace of bitterness flashed across his eyes. If I could cultivate the little art of cloud and rain to the 12th level, maybe she would look at me more. She wouldn't be like now where even looking at me is a luxury. To be able to cultivate the little art of cloud and rain to the 12th level in 2 months, it seems that this year's Azure Dragon Institute has a strong first seat. I just don't know if he can help the Azure Dragon Institute get rid of its weak state. Thinking to himself, Qin Mu moved his gaze and looked at Duanmu Rong. Very good, Duanmu Rong, you have done well in this matter. A trace of joy appeared on Duanmu Rong's face as he said respectfully. Duanmu does not dare to neglect elders' orders. Standing among the 12 people, gazes filled with scrutiny, surprise, doubt and envy landed on him. Qin Feng was like a cool breeze. These were all small scenes, but it could not be denied that being watched by these gazes, Qin Feng was indeed proud. To be able to cultivate the little art of cloud and rain to the 12th level, other than his talent, Qin Feng had put in a lot of effort. There was a saying that one could not be pretentious in life. Otherwise, one would be no different from a salted fish. Qin Feng had put on a small show. This thought flashed across Qin Feng's mind. Qin Feng's face was indifferent. He had always been calm and aloof. Qin Feng could clearly feel that the more aloof he was, the more curious the 2 young girls were about him. As expected, an aloof and domineering image is the most attractive to ignorant young girls. Just as Qin Feng was letting his imagination run wild, suddenly a figure silently appeared not far from Qin Feng. Zuosong had heard Duanmu Rong introduce Qin Feng. He originally thought that it was someone with the same name, but Zuosong still turned around to look. Zuosong saw that familiar figure in the crowd. Half a year had passed. Qin Feng had changed a lot. His figure was even more slender and had started to mature. The youthful aura between his brows had faded by a lot. There was a trace of coldness in his eyes, faintly dignified. But it was still possible to see a trace of the pale youth from Shanha City. Little guy. Long time no see. His shoulder was suddenly patted. Qin Feng raised his head and saw old man's was chubby old face that was smiling like a chrysanthemum. Qin Feng's eyebrows raised. He glanced at the surprised crowd, his face expressionless. President Zuo, so it's you. Nice to meet you. Xuesong blinked his eyes. Looking at the surprised crowd, he suddenly realized that he had lost his composure. This little guy is still so smart. Xuesong laughed bitterly in his heart. He coughed a few times to hide his awkwardness. Elder Qing Mu laughed. Brother Zhua, you know this little guy. Xuesong was just about to speak when a cold voice sounded. Who is this kid? Why is he a kid in the 10th level of the martial path? What did I instruct at that time? Who brought this brat here? After a series of questions, Fan Qingshan pointed at Qin Feng, his face filled with anger. Duanmu Rong's face changed slightly. He stepped forward to explain. Master, Fan Qingshan's eyes were filled with gloom as he rudely interrupted. All right, you don't have to explain. Go and choose a new one. If the treatment is delayed, will you be responsible? This is the 3rd update. The 4th update. The 5th update will be in the afternoon. Please recommend me, please add me, please reward me. Chapter 208. Delay the treatment of the elixir? Who will be responsible? Fan Qingshan's eyes were cold as he threw a tantrum. Although Fan Qingshan was criticizing Duanmu Rong, his words were directed at Qin Feng. Instantly, all the gazes in the great hall landed on Qin Feng. Qin Feng's face was calm. His messy black hair danced in the wind and his eyes were cold. Qin Feng knew that Fan Qingshan was targeting Xuesong. He was only brought along because Xuesong was familiar with him. However, there was an uncontrollable anger in his heart. Xuesong was furious and was about to speak. Qin Feng stopped Xuesong. The corners of Qin Feng's mouth curled into a cold smile. He raised his head and coldly glanced at the scowling Fan Qingshan before speaking to Xuesong. President Zhua, you don't have to say anything. I will withdraw. Actually, even if Master Fan didn't say anything, Qin Feng would have to withdraw. Otherwise, when Master Fan fails, he will have nowhere to vent his anger. He might even become a punching bag. Xuesong's face turned from anger to joy as he laughed. Well said, this is like someone's style. A trace of coldness flashed in Fan Qingshan's eyes. His cold gaze landed on Qin Feng as he shouted in a gloomy voice. What a madman who has no respect for his elders. You dare to speak to me like that? Being stared at by Fan Qingshan, Qin Feng suddenly felt a huge pressure in his heart. All the bones in his body emitted crackling sounds under this pressure. The sea reincarnation realm was too powerful. One look was enough to kill a 10th stage martial path expert. Seeing this, Xuesong was furious and rebuked. How dare you, Fan Qingshan? How dare you bully the weak? Do you have any shame? In the next moment, Xuesong's figure flashed and appeared in front of Qin Feng, blocking the aura. Fan Qingshan's face was gloomy as his eyes flashed coldly. Xuesong, get out of my way! Xuesong shouted. If you dare to touch a hair on this little guy, I will crush you to death. A terrifying aura burst out from Xuesong's body. The aura of a Nirvana realm magnate erupted without restraint, pressing down on Fan Qingshan. Xuesong directly crushed him with his cultivation. Tyrannical beyond measure. Fan Qingshan bellowed furiously, feeling as if his heart was about to explode. Xuesong, you dare to use your cultivation to suppress me? Xuesong said disdainfully. You're using your mystic rank to suppress me? So what if I'm suppressing you? Don't provoke this old man today. If you provoke this old man will crush you to death with a single glance. A surge of aura surged out and landed on Fan Qingshan's body. Fan Qingshan's face paled. Although he was a level 4 mystic cultivator, one level higher than Xuesong, he was still a level 4 mystic cultivator. However, he was merely at the peak of the Sea of Reincarnation realm. Even though the peak of the Sea of Reincarnation realm was only half a step away from becoming a giant, there was an insurmountable gap between them and a Nirvana realm giant. Elder Qing Mu revealed a bitter smile when he saw this scene. Fan Qingshan and Zhuo Song were both mystic cultivators invited by All Stars College. The future president of All Stars College's Mystic Association would be born between the two of them. It wasn't good to offend either side. This Master Fan is too much. Why did he pick on Zhuo Song for no reason? He's a Nirvana realm giant who used ancient diagrams. Even this old man can't defeat him. Why are you, a sea of reincarnation realm, arguing with him? He complained in his heart. Elder Qing Mu's body flashed and appeared between the two of them. An aura that was like a spring breeze blew away the tense atmosphere without a sound. Masters, this is just a battle of words. There's no need to get angry. With a smile on his face, Qing Mu tried his best to smooth things over. Zhuo Song glanced coldly at Fan Qingshan and withdrew his aura. Elder Qing Mu was from Xingchen School, so it wasn't good to offend him. However, when he withdrew his aura, Zhuo Song purposely played a trick. He suddenly withdrew his aura. Fan Qingshan's body suddenly rushed forward and crashed into a pillar of the shrine with a bang. For a moment, his body was in a mess and he was in an extremely sorry state. With disheveled hair, Fan Qingshan crawled up from the ground. His eyes were red as he stared at the chubby old man and let out a furious roar. Zhuo Song. Elder Qing Mu's expression didn't look too good. He looked at Zhuo Song with some displeasure. After all, Fan Qingshan was in charge of the recovery of the spirit root this time. If Fan Qingshan quit and his spirit root withered, he wouldn't be able to escape responsibility. Master Fan, don't be angry. Since this is the case, we'll just find another martial artist who has cultivated to the 9th level of the minor art of clouds and rain. Elder Qing Mu glanced coldly at the young man in black robes. Qin Feng, you can leave now. Zhuo Song's expression changed slightly. Elder Qing Mu, don't you think you're being too unfair? Elder Qing Mu's expression was indifferent. Elder Zhuo, please prioritize the life and death of the spirit root. Fan Qingshan stood up and his sorry state was swept away. He looked at Zhuo Song with a hint of coldness in his eyes. A hint of anger flashed across his eyes. Zhuo Song glanced at Elder Qing Mu and Fan Qingshan, then sneered. Alright, the spirit root is important. Since that's the case, Qing Mu, you and this fan guy should treat the spirit root properly. I hope you won't come looking for me again in a while. Hearing that, Fan Qingshan sneered. You're just a mere grade 3 mystic master. What arrogance! Don't worry, I'll treat the spirit root. You can leave if you want. Since that's the case, let's go, little guy. We'll sit and see what ability Master Fan has to save the spirit root. Zhuo Song called out to Qin Feng, and the two of them walked out of the grand hall. Qing Mu wanted to say something but stopped. He glanced at the exceptionally proud Fan Qingshan and shook his head. I can only hope that Master Fan can save the spirit root, otherwise. Sighing in his heart, Qing Mu didn't know if he had made the right choice between Fan Qingshan and Zhuo Song this time. Long Ling and the rest looked at each other as they watched the young man in black robes leave. Duanmu Rong's mouth twitched as he thought to himself, what a pity. Originally, when I saw Qin Feng's sudden rise, I wanted to do him a favor and specially gave him a hand. Who would have thought that this Master Fan was actually so unreasonable? Forget it, this is fate. Duanmu Rong walked out of the Medicine King Hall silently and looked for martial artists who had cultivated the minor art of clouds and rain to the 9th level and above. After walking out of the Medicine King Hall, Qin Feng didn't leave the 7 Stars platform immediately. Zhuo Song brought him to a side hall. Both of their faces were gloomy, and they were suppressing their anger. Too sullen? Qin Feng asked after a while. Old man Zhuo, you don't have to worry. That Fan Qingshan might not be able to condense the one heavenly true water. Zhuo Song shook his head. Although I don't want to admit it, this Fan Qingshan does have some ability. A grade 4 mystic cultivator is indeed much higher than a grade 3 mystic cultivator like me. I know this. Zhuosong clearly didn't believe Qin Feng's words. This was very normal. Qin Feng was only a grade 1 mystic cultivator. Qin Feng shook his head and stopped when he saw that Zhuosong didn't believe him. Zhuosong sighed. It's just a pity for the president of All Stars College's Mystic Association. Once this Fan Qinshan saves that spirit root, there will be no suspense in our battle. This is the 4th update. Next is the 5th. There should be another update tonight. Please recommend it. Please bookmark it. Chapter 209. The fight between you two? Qin Feng was slightly surprised. Qin Feng had heard that All Stars College wanted to invite Zhuosong to be the president of a branch of the Mystic Association in the domain of stars. When Zhuosong saw the surprised expression on Qin Feng's face, he smiled bitterly and shook his head. Actually, it wasn't the first time I met Fan Qinshan. We knew each other when we were young. I came from a humble family, and he came from the noble Fan family in the Cloudwater Empire. Our aptitudes were similar, and our opportunities were similar. Back then, we also entered All Stars College in the same year. Back then, we entered the Vermilion Bird Academy. We competed all the way, but I lost to him all the way. Zhuosong's lips curled into a bitter smile. I lost to him when we fought for the head seat, lost to him when we fought for the woman I loved, and even lost to him when we fought for the position of master. He became the eldest disciple, and I became the second disciple. Zhuosong's eyes revealed a hint of resentment. But I never admitted defeat. I don't believe that I will lose to this fan guy for the rest of my life. What an eternal second place. Qin Feng shook his head. After failing so many times in a row, an ordinary person would have already broken down. Or given up on themselves. Old man Zhua had perseverance and didn't give up after so many blows. Zhuosong's face was sinister. So, I worked hard all these years. Step by step, I went from an ordinary deacon of the Mystic Association to an elder, vice president, president, and finally the branch president of the Mountain River City branch. However, he wasn't bad either. After my master passed away, he slowly became the president of the Cloudwater Empire's Baiyan City Mystic Association. And now, All Stars College came to us almost at the same time and requested us to establish the All Stars College Mystic Association. However, there will only be one president of All Stars College. Zhuosong glanced at Qin Feng and smiled. I made a bet with him about the heaven-class spiritual root that we found in the ruins. Whoever can save this spirit root will be the winner. If I win, that fan guy will leave. If he wins, I will naturally leave. Qin Feng smiled. You're asking for trouble by doing this. You're a 3rd-grade Xian master, and he's a 4th-grade Xian master. You're naturally at a disadvantage. Zhuosong snorted. Of course I'm not stupid. If I hadn't broken through to the Nirvana realm, I would naturally not bet with him. But after breaking through to the Nirvana realm, I have quite a bit of confidence. Qin Feng frowned and was suddenly startled. Old man Zhua, don't tell me you're thinking of using the origin of heaven and earth in your inner world to water that spiritual root. The origin of heaven and earth contains the vitality of heaven and earth. Although you can save that spiritual root, your potential will be destroyed. Zhuosong laughed so hard that tears flowed out of his eyes. Who cares? This old man has been suppressed by him my entire life. My beloved woman was snatched away by him, and even my master's grace was snatched away. This old man only wants to suppress him once. He looked at the old man's half-crying, half-laughing expression. Qin Feng seemed to be affected by this and fell silent. After a while, Zhuosong calmed down and looked at the black-robed young man with a smile on his face. He laughed. Actually, you don't have to worry. It's just a trace of the origin of heaven and earth. Even if I give up a trace, this old man's life will not be in danger. But if you cut off your own origin like this, I'm afraid it will hurt your foundation. Once the 4 chaos tribulations are activated, you will definitely die. Xuesong smiled faintly. It doesn't matter. This old man is already satisfied to be able to break through to the Nirvana realm. Moreover, since ancient times, Nirvana realm powerhouses have a slim chance of surviving the 4 chaos tribulations. What's the difference between a slim chance of surviving and a slim chance of surviving? Qin Feng sighed softly. This old man Zhuo was indeed sad. He had been suppressed his entire life. Since that's the case, I'll help you. Whether it's for you or for myself, I can't let Fan Qingshan be too complacent. Qin Feng's eyes glowed faintly as he thought to himself. By the way, how are Hong Lian and the others? Qin Feng thought of Hong Lian. Before leaving Mountain River City, Qin Feng entrusted the few followers of the Qin family and Hong Lian to Xuesong. They should have followed him to the capital of stars by now. That little girl. Xuesong smiled bitterly. What's wrong with her? Qin Feng's heart tightened. Is she all right? Xuesong hesitated for a moment before saying. She should be all right. What do you mean she should be all right? If she's all right, then she's all right. Qin Feng looked like he wanted to kill someone. This old man Zhuo was too hateful. Xuesong thought for a moment before saying. Then she should be all right. Qin Feng's expression relaxed and he touched his nose. This old man was too good at keeping him in suspense. For the next few days, Qin Feng hid himself in the side hall and cultivated. The 7-star platform was extremely rich in spiritual qi and was very suitable for cultivation. Cultivating here for a day was equivalent to cultivating for 4 or 5 days outside. In particular, the 7 stars platform was filled with strands of dragon qi. If one stayed here for a long time, they could be cleansed by the essence of the dragon qi, strengthen their physique, and change their aptitude. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Qin Feng swallowed a jade elixir. 3 days later, Qin Feng opened his eyes in the side hall. The aura on his body rose slightly, with strands of light blue luster. He felt that the liquid Xiantian true qi in his body had strengthened by nearly 10%. Qin Feng thought to himself, this jade elixir is indeed amazing. 21 waves of Xiantian true qi, the peak of the 10th heaven of the martial path. Maybe after a few more days of stabilizing my realm, I can try to break through the 3rd heaven of the martial path and break through to the 11th heaven of the martial path. It's a pity that this jade elixir is too rare. There's only 1 bottle every month. He sighed with dissatisfaction. Qin Feng's hand moved slightly, and a violent force vibrated. With the guidance of his Xiantian true qi, the North Sea godly water sword behind him flew out of the scabbard. Grabbing the sword, Qin Feng injected his spiritual imprint into the North Sea godly water sword. With a thought, the North Sea godly water sword floated up. With a thought, the North Sea godly water sword turned into a swimming fish, revolving around Qin Feng's body. 5 zhang in radius. After a while, Qin Feng's hand grabbed the North Sea godly water sword and returned it to the scabbard. After breaking through to the peak of the 10th heaven of the martial path, Qin Feng's control of the North Sea godly water sword had expanded a little. From the original 10 zhang in radius, it had expanded to 15 zhang. Suppressing the joy in his heart, Qin Feng calmed down and started to comprehend the 11th layer of the Golden Gung sword art. In the past few days, Qin Feng spent most of his time comprehending the 11th layer of Golden Gung sword art. Qin Feng had an intuition that the 11th layer of Golden Gung sword art was about to break through. 2 days later, in the side chamber, Qin Feng's body suddenly shook, and a surge of sword qi soared into the sky. In the next moment, this surge of sword qi suddenly disappeared. Qin Feng closed his eyes, and under his skin, a layer of Xiantian shapeless sword qi shot out from his pores. Streams of shapeless sword qi as thin as gossamer shot out. They intertwined in the air and formed 4 9 qi long Xiantian shapeless swords. Light blue in texture, they swam back and forth in the air, as if they were a protective blue dragon. The 11th layer of Golden Gung sword art had broken through. This is the 5th update, there's one more tonight, please recommend me, please bookmark me. Chapter 210. On the 6th day, Zhuosong walked into the side chamber. Little brat, it's time to come out. Zhuosong's voice was mystical, like the sound of a drum in the morning. However, this voice didn't seem domineering. Instead, it was like the spring wind and rain, bringing with it traces of Tao sound that awakened one's mind. Qin Feng's sea-like aura floated around him and gradually dissipated. Qin Feng opened his eyes and looked at the white-browed old man in a mystic master's black robe. Elder Zhuo, it seems like you have good news. Bad news, extremely bad news. Zhuosong's face was tense and gloomy, but the smile in his eyes betrayed him. Qin Feng stood up and stretched his stagnant blood after sitting for a long time. Did Fanqingshan's array fail? Zhuosong looked at the black-robed young man in surprise. You don't seem to be surprised at all? What's there to be surprised about? Not to mention 12 people, even 20 or 200 people wouldn't be able to condense the one heavenly primordial water according to his method. Qin Feng walked out of the side chamber and saw Long Ling, Zhang Mu, and the rest of the 12 people walking out of the Medicine King Hall pathetically. Their faces were gloomy, and Fanqingshan's angry roars could be heard from the Medicine King Hall occasionally. Useless things, it's all your fault. If not for you, the entire array would have succeeded. It's you who destroyed my array. With a bang, a rolling wave of air blasted out of the Medicine King Hall. Boom! There was the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground. Qin Feng's gaze landed on his feet, and the whole thing happened to land under his feet. Elder Duanmu. Qin Feng looked at Duanmu Rong questioningly. Duanmu Rong's face was pale. He suddenly looked at the black-robed young man and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was as white as paper. At this moment, Qing Mu walked out from the other side of the side chamber. When he saw Duanmu Rong spitting out blood, he was stunned. Then, his eyes revealed a trace of anger. In a flash, Qing Mu appeared in front of Duanmu Rong and squatted down to check on Duanmu Rong's injuries. No need. Zhuosong strolled over with a faint look in his eyes. This kid's internal organs were damaged by Fanqingshan's green mountain crushing force. His organs are all shaken. And he can forget about getting out of bed for at least half a year. Qing Mu was slightly startled. He raised his head to look for the source of the sound, and a trace of embarrassment appeared on his face. Elder Zhuo. At this moment, Elder Zhuo's self-mockery. Looks like it's fortunate that I withdrew from this formation back then. Otherwise, the one lying here today might be me, Qin Feng. Zhuo Elder's Lin's. Qing Mu's face slightly stiffened. Glancing at Zhuosong, who was smiling behind Qin Feng, Qing Mu suppressed the anger in his heart. After a while, he called a group of disciples over and carried Duanmu Rong away. To Ling to Zhuotu. To Zhuo Mo Song. Qing Mu turned his head and his gaze fell on Zhuosong. He looked extremely embarrassed. 6 days had passed, and Qing Mu didn't see any improvement in Fanqingshan's body. That spirit root was withering day by day. In a few more days, this rare heaven-grade spirit root would wither away. Qing Mu couldn't take the pressure anymore. At this moment, Fanqingshan walked out of the Pill King Hall with a gloomy face. He looked up and saw Zhuosong and Qin Feng at the bottom of the stairs. Why were they still here? Fanqingshan's face changed. Someone is really thick-skinned. I can't even chase him away. Sometimes life is cheap. Elder Zhuo, Qin Feng suddenly said. Of course we won't leave. Grandmaster Fan vowed that he would save the spirit root. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How can we not stay and watch the fun? Zhuosong continued. Yes, may I ask if Master Fan's spirit root has been saved? Fanqingshan's face was burning. He was angry and embarrassed. Zhuosong glanced at Fan Qingshan and sneered. Don't tell me you're bragging. I didn't expect a level 4 mystic master like Fan Qingshan to boast without a draft. Elder Zhua Qin Feng sneered. There are too many masters these days. Many people on the streets boast that they are masters. This is called Old Lady Wang praising herself. The two of them seemed to be acting out a play. Fan Qingshan's face darkened. His eyes were so gloomy that it was almost dripping water. This was a slap to his face. A few days ago, he said confidently that he would save the spirit root. Because of this, Qing Mu even drove away Zhuosong and Qin Feng. But 6 days had passed. He had achieved nothing. His spirit root had even withered faster in these 6 days. Some of the Pill King Hall's disciples looked at Fan Qingshan in surprise. Fan Qingshan's face turned red. Zhuosong sighed as he glanced at Qing Mu, whose expression was changing. It's a pity that people like to listen to those who call themselves masters boast. Those who have real evidence are being guessed. Since there's no place for me here, there's a place for me. Zhuosong glanced at Qin Feng and said, Little guy, let's go. Qin Feng nodded. The two of them walked out of the valley. Qing Mu's expression changed slightly. He appeared in front of them in a flash. Zhuosong looked at the green-robed elder in front of him in surprise. Brother Qing Mu, what are you doing? Qing Mu looked at Zhuosong with a bitter smile. Brother Zhua, don't make things difficult for your brother. Qing Mu apologizes to you. It's my fault. This spiritual root is going to wither in a few days. If this spiritual root withers, the Peak Master won't spare your brother. Qing Mu cupped his hands with a deep bitterness in his eyes. Brother Zhua, please help me save this spirit root. Zhuosong looked troubled. But I remember that Brother Qing Mu didn't seem to welcome us? Besides, isn't there someone saving the spirit root? As the saying goes, don't bother two people for one thing. With a 4th-grade mystic master here, why do you need to beg a 3rd-grade mystic master like me? Zhuosong sneered. Brother Zhua, I apologize to you. It's my fault for neglecting you. Please forgive me. Qing Mu bowed deeply. This Fan Qingshan is really something. He's a 4th-grade mystic master. He's usually dignified and steady, but I didn't expect him to be just a facade. He's really made me suffer. Qing Mu thought to himself. This is great. This Zhuosong is being unreasonable. If I can't satisfy him, I'm afraid I won't be able to answer to the Peak Master. Qing Mu hesitated for a moment before he suddenly gritted his teeth. Fan Qingshan, this is your own incompetence. Don't blame me for not giving you face. Qing Mu raised his head and looked at Fan Qingshan. Brother Fan, since you can't save the spirit root, please leave. Please leave? He was chasing him away. He was saying that Fan Qingshan was incompetent. Fan Qingshan's face turned green. This was a great humiliation. As a 4th-grade mystic master, Fan Qingshan was highly respected and respected. No matter where he went, he would be respected and respected by everyone. He had never been chased away before. Fan Qingshan's face turned from red to green, then from green to purple. He pointed at Qing Mu and was so angry that he couldn't speak. Zhuosong mocked. Why? It seems like someone can't be chased away. Who's so shameless? Zhuosong. Fan Qingshan's eyes fell on Zhuosong. This was the first time he had suffered a loss because of Zhuosong. Fan Qingshan stared at Zhuosong and sneered. Zhuosong, don't be smug. I'm a 4th-grade mystic master, and you're only a 3rd-grade mystic master. If I can't save the spirit root, I don't believe you can. Zhuosong sneered. Qing Mu smiled bitterly and said to Zhuosong when he sensed the hatred in Fan Qingshan's eyes. Brother Zhua, are you satisfied now? Zhuosong pondered for a moment and looked at the expressionless black-robed youth. Little guy, do you think we should save this spirit root? In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on the black-robed youth. As usual, I'm still updating every day. I've already updated every day for a month. My character is guaranteed. Please recommend me, collect me, and reward me. Chapter 211. Qin Feng raised his head and looked at Zhuo Song in surprise. In the next moment, Qin Feng understood that Zhuo Song wanted to give him a big benefit. He wanted Qing Mu to owe him a favor. This old man is quite loyal. Qin Feng mused in his heart as warmth filled his heart. Qing Mu then noticed the black-robed youth that he had neglected. Slightly startled, Qing Mu recognized the youth that he had chased away. His old face flushed with embarrassment. Qing Mu looked at the black-robed youth with a hint of pleading in his eyes. Qin Feng was expressionless and pretended not to see it. After a quarter of an hour, Qing Mu could not help but cough and say, "Little brother, whether this spiritual root can survive or not is related to the Medicine King Hall's 100-year plan. It is too important. Little brother, as long as you agree to treat it, I will owe you a favor. What do you think?" "I don't think so," Zhuo Song sneered. 6 days ago, my little friend was chased out by you. Don't you have any sincerity, Qing Mu? Zhuo Song was obviously blackmailing Qing Mu. If he did not give him some benefits, he would not relent. Qin Feng secretly praised old man Zhuo. This old man was a godly teammate. The benefits were coming. Qing Mu's face stiffened and his eyes revealed a trace of a bitter smile. He looked at the black-robed youth and thought for a moment. Qing Mu's 5 fingers moved and 4 white jade bottles appeared in his palm. If this old man didn't see wrongly, little brother Qin Feng has already reached the peak of the 10th heavenly layer and is only half a step away from breaking through to the 11th heavenly layer. This old man has 4 bottles of jade spirit pills, and each bottle can withstand little friend's cultivation for half a year. These 4 bottles should be able to help little friend advance to the 13th heavenly layer. Qing Mu looked at the jade spirit pills in his palm with a toothache. These were originally prepared for the younger generation of his family. Qin Feng's eyes lit up. The jade spirit pill was a good item. In the contribution hall, a single jade spirit pill would cost 50 points and 1 merit point to purchase. 4 bottles of jade spirit pills cost 200 points and 4 merit points. This kind of elixir was one of the elixirs that Qin Feng possessed the most at this stage. With these 4 bottles of jade spirit pills, with the characteristics of the innate primordial spirit, although he could not break through the 13th heavenly layer, he could at least break through the 12th heavenly layer. Elder Qing Mu has sharp eyes. Qin Feng looked at Zhuo Song as he thought to himself. Zhuo Song understood. 4 bottles of jade spirit pills. Qing Mu, you're an elder of Xingqian school. How can you take out something like this? Zhuo Song sneered. Qing Mu's face froze slightly, and a trace of distress flashed in his eyes. This time, Zhuo Song wouldn't act until he saw a rabbit. For the sake of that spirit root, it seemed like he had to pay a price. A trace of pain flashed through Qing Mu's eyes. After a while, he gritted his teeth and took out a green bottle. This green bottle was neither made of metal nor wood, and it carried a faint fragrance. The muscles on Qing Mu's face twitched. He forced a smile and handed the green bottle to the black-robed young man. Young Qin, I have a bottle of 1,000-year-old wood essence. This is the essence condensed from the heart of a 1,000-year-old spirit tree. It's very precious. Young Qin, you have to use it sparingly. 1,000-year-old wood essence. Long Ling and the others were shocked. 1,000-year-old wood essence was a kind of elixir that could allow a martial artist to be reborn. Not only could it increase one's cultivation and strengthen one's foundation, but it could also heal hidden injuries in a martial artist's body. It could allow a martial artist to reach a perfect state. Before the foundation establishment stage, the more perfect one's body was, the higher the chance of forging a high-grade foundation. To Qin Feng, this bottle of 1,000-year-old wood origin essence was simply a timely help. In the contribution hall, one could not buy a drop without at least 500 points. This small bottle contained at least a dozen drops. Everyone was shocked and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Elder Qin Mu actually took out such a treasure. Qin Feng's eyes lit up as he took the bottle. He could not hide the joy on his face. Elder Qin Mu actually had such a treasure on him. I've struck it rich. The corner of Qin Feng's mouth twitched as a smile appeared on his face. Young brother, I wonder if you're satisfied now? Qin Mu squeezed out a smile, but his eyes were stiff. At this moment, he was on the verge of exploding. Qin Feng knew when to stop and said straightforwardly. Of course. This spirit root is related to the Medicine King Hall. Of course we have to save it immediately. Alright, since young Qin has agreed, let's do it, Zuosong said. Qin Mu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He turned his head and saw the gloomy Fan Qingshan. With a trace of coldness in his eyes, Qin Mu turned around and led Zuosong deeper into the Medicine King Hall. Even I can't save this spirit root. I don't believe you can save it. Fan Qingshan sneered and walked into the Medicine King Hall. I'd like to see if you have the face to be arrogant after you fail. With a gloomy look in his eyes, Fan Qingshan silently followed behind Qin Mu. Let's go and take a look too. This kind of eye-opening opportunity is rare. The 12 people at the side of the hall looked at each other and followed. Qin Mu took the lead and saw the people following, but he did not stop them. Zuosong glanced at Fan Qingshan from the corner of his eyes and looked away. His old eyes revealed a trace of fierceness and coldness, as well as a trace of madness. Qin Feng was beside Zuosong. He took in Zuosong's gaze. This old Zuo really doesn't care about anything in order to take revenge. Old Zuo, you're lucky to have met me. Qin Feng's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. Zuosong treated him well and protected him a lot along the way. Most importantly, Zuosong helped him send Honglian and the others safely to the capital of stars. Qin Feng could not watch Zuosong destroy his own source and cut off his own future just to take revenge. After Qin Mu led the group into the Medicine King Hall, they went straight in. About an hour later, they arrived at the core of the Medicine King Hall. This was the belly of a mountain. The further in they went, the more abundant the spirit qi was. There was a faint trace of majesty. This was dragon qi. The terrain here was very strange. Without stopping, Qin Feng's eyes lit up. Qin Feng recognized this terrain. This terrain was called the True Dragon Cave. From afar, Qin Feng saw 9 cave entrances. Dragon qi surged from the entrances. Upon closer inspection, they looked like 9 true dragons that were tens of thousands of miles long. Their dragon tails faced outwards, and the 9 dragon heads pointed to the central area. This area seemed to be the nest of the true dragons. Qin Mu chose one of the dragon caves in the center and entered. The ground was full of potholes, and dragon-shaped spirit qi could be vaguely seen. The substantial dragon qi was like a puddle of water that settled in the potholes. The group walked in. After a few hundred steps, ancient trees appeared in front of them. These ancient trees were like vines that intertwined together, forming a huge nest. These ancient trees were black and intertwined together. It was incomparably mysterious and majestic. This is true dragon wood, a rare spirit wood. There are actually so many of them here? Qin Feng's eyes were filled with surprise. This nest was incomparably huge. It was formed by countless ancient trees and was as tall as a mountain. There were many formless dragons moving in and out of the nest. This was the manifestation of dragon qi. This nest exuded an ancient and majestic aura. Qin Mu, Zuosong, and Fan Qingshan were not affected much. However, Qin Feng and the others felt a terrifying pressure on their bodies. The dark north godly water sword behind them buzzed, and a trace of sword light shattered. Qin Feng finally let out a sigh of relief. Gudong Gudong. In the center of the dragon's nest, Qin Feng saw an extremely rare spirit spring. There seemed to be 7 big stars floating in the center of the spirit spring. The spring water flowed like true dragons roaring. The group of young powerful beings was shocked. It's the seven-star dragon spring. This was a spirit spring of heaven and earth formed by the true dragon's blood and the life essence of heaven and earth. This spirit spring was even more precious than the frost soul spirit spring in Qin Feng's azure sea heaven and earth. Qin Feng raised his head. In the center of the spirit spring, Qin Feng saw a withered divine tree. This is the second update. The third update will be in the afternoon. The fourth update will be in the afternoon, and the fifth update will be in the afternoon. Please recommend it. Please collect it. Finally, I want to talk about the rules for adding new chapters. Recently, many brothers have requested for more chapters, but the author's time is limited, and he has to go to work every day. Maintaining 5 chapters a day has already reached his limit. However, in order to not affect the enthusiasm of some rich readers, I will make it clear that I will reward 10,000 book coins plus 1 chapter, 100,000 book coins plus 10 chapters, that's it. Chapter 212. It was a withered divine tree. The small tree was sparkling and its bark was like dragon scales. However, it was tainted with wisps of death chi and evil chi. They were like spots of ulcers, extremely disgusting and ugly. Its vitality was withering and death chi was lingering around it. It was a sapling of the ancestral dragon divine tree. Qin Feng was indescribably shaken. This underground true dragon cave actually gave birth to such a divine tree. It was rumored that one of the 4 great Khanate primordial spirits, the Ewood Green Dragon, was born from the ancestral dragon divine tree. Any savage beast with the dragon bloodline that obtained this divine tree would be able to revert their bloodline to their ancestors. They could even comprehend the mysteries of the ancestral dragon body and form the supreme ancestral dragon combat body. It's just that this divine tree doesn't look too good. It's being entangled by some death chi and evil chi, and it's beyond cure. If it weren't for the 7-star dragon spring water, it would have been devoured by the death chi and evil chi. Qin Feng was a little regretful that he didn't bring Lord Ba along this time. The death chi and evil chi were terrifying to others, but to Lord Ba they were delicacies. Lord Qing Mu looked at Xuesong. Xuesong looked at the true dragon divine tree. He was about to attack. After a moment of silence, Qin Feng stopped Xuesong. Old man Zhua, it's useless. Even if you sever the source of heaven and earth, it won't solve the root cause. It won't help. Xuesong looked at the ancestral dragon divine tree with hesitation. Qin Feng. Seeing that, Qing Mu's face instantly sank. With a swoosh, his gaze landed on Qin Feng as he fiercely berated. You brat, what do you know? Don't talk nonsense here. Lord Qing Mu's face darkened and his tone was cold. In fact, Lord Qing Mu had long guessed that Xuesong might sever the source of heaven and earth to water the divine tree. From the bottom of his heart, Lord Qing Mu approved of this method. The source of heaven and earth contained the ultimate vitality and destiny. To a certain extent, the source of heaven and earth was more useful than the one heavenly primordial water. However, the source of heaven and earth was related to the foundation. Even the slightest loss could lead to serious consequences. Now that Xuesong was finally willing to sever his flesh, Lord Qing Mu would not allow anyone to ruin it. Qing Mu's eyes were filled with killing intent. Qin Feng coldly smiled. He took in Qing Mu's expression. He could tell what Qing Mu was thinking with a single glance. This old man is really vicious. For the sake of his own future, he actually wants to sacrifice old man Zhua. Qin Feng said expressionlessly. Elder Qing Mu, I know you're anxious to save this spiritual root and save your future, but I have to tell you the truth. The reason why this ancestral dragon divine wood has mutated is because there's a problem with the true dragon cave. Although Elder Zhua can temporarily revive the ancestral dragon divine wood with the origin of heaven and earth, he can't cure the root of the problem. As long as the problem in the true dragon cave is not solved, the ancestral dragon divine wood will wither again in a few days. Qing Mu's expression changed drastically. Qin Feng had hit the nail on the head. In fact, when the problem with the ancestral dragon divine wood appeared, Greenwood had already suspected it. After all, the ancestral dragon divine wood was rooted in the true dragon cave. The ancestral dragon divine tree would not emit such an evil aura and death aura for no reason. But Aoki didn't want to think that way. Because if there was a problem with the true dragon cave, it would be a big problem. Not only would he be unlucky, but Dumu Peak, which was in charge of this area, would also be implicated. Qing Mu's face was as gloomy as water. He instinctively didn't believe Qin Feng's judgment. Qing Mu didn't believe that a 15-year-old boy would have such knowledge. However, Qin Feng's reason was indeed not without reason. The true dragon cave fell into silence. Everyone looked at the black-robed boy with scrutiny and surprise. The black-robed boy was too calm. Many young experts looked at him as if they wanted to see through him. Where did this Qin Feng come from? You actually know so much about the true dragon cave? Long Ling's beautiful eyes landed on Qin Feng as she sized him up from the foot of the mountain. The other young men were a little jealous. Zuosong looked at Qin Feng with surprise. Seeing Qing Mu's expression change, Zuosong thought for a moment and sent a voice transmission. Brother Qing Mu, what my little friend said might be true. My little friend's background is mysterious, and his family's knowledge is deep. He knows a lot about ancient secrets. Since he saw the problem, maybe he has a way to solve your problem. Qing Mu thought for a moment. Qing Mu couldn't make the decision and felt a little awkward. Qing Mu didn't want to believe a strange boy who hadn't even reached the pulse condensation stage. Tilting his head, Qin Feng looked at Qing Mu leisurely. In any case, whether the ancestral dragon divine tree lived or died had nothing to do with him. If the ancestral dragon divine tree withered, Qin Feng wouldn't lose anything. If the ancestral dragon divine tree was saved, Qin Feng wouldn't gain anything. As for whether or not Old Man Zhuo was going to sever his source, Qin Feng felt that if Zuosong didn't listen to his advice, then the old man asked for it. After a moment of silence, Qing Mu's expression changed and his eyes fell on the black-robed young man. Little brother, since you saw the problem with the true dragon cave, do you have a way to solve it? Qing Mu decided to trust Qin Feng. Anyway, he had to give it a try. With a confident smile on his face, Qin Feng said, "Of course there is a way." As a demigod array grandmaster, Qin Feng had been in countless dangerous and precious places. Although his earth-shattering cultivation was no longer the same, his vision was still there. The problem in the true dragon cave was naturally not a problem for Qin Feng. Qing Mu was overjoyed and asked hurriedly, "Then are you willing to help?" Fan Qingshan watched all this with cold eyes and sneered. Qing Mu was desperate and actually believed the nonsense of a 15 or 16-year-old kid. How ridiculous! How stupid! Fan Qingshan sighed. Qin Feng looked up and said slowly, "I can help, but Elder Qing Mu, before that, I have to ask you to agree to 2 conditions." "What conditions?" When Qin Feng said the conditions, Qing Mu was a little convinced. Qing Mu believed that if this black-robed young man did not have the confidence, he would not have the guts to negotiate with him even if he had Zuosong as his backer. The first condition is very simple. If I can help you save the ancestral dragon divine wood, you have to agree to let Old Man Zuosong be the branch president of All Stars College's Mystic Association. Zuosong looked at Qin Feng and was a little touched. Qing Mu's eyes flashed between Fan Qingshan and Zuosong. "If you can save the ancestral dragon divine wood, I will agree to this condition." Fan Qingshan's expression changed slightly, and then he sneered. Qin Feng said with a smile, "The second condition is also very simple. This mission should be counted as a sect-gathering mission. As for the rewards, I hope Elder won't shortchange any of us." As soon as this sentence was said, the young experts in the cave looked at the black-robed young man with a hint of gratitude. Ching Mu looked at the black-robed young man in surprise. After a moment, he said, "This condition is also very reasonable. I can agree to it." "Very good. I only have these two conditions." Qin Feng smiled. Ching Mu's impression of Qin Feng had slightly changed. He raised his head and said with a cold face, "This brat is not bad." Neither of the two conditions were for himself. "Qin Feng, I agree to both of your conditions. However, I have to remind you that if I find out that you are toying with me, then even if Elder Zhua is protecting you, I will absolutely not let this matter rest." This is the third update. The fourth update is around 5 p.m. Please recommend me. Please add me to your collection. Chapter 213. Zhuosong transmitted his voice. "Little guy, you have to be careful. This true dragon cave is the exclusive property of Xingqian School. It's related to a very important plan of theirs. Don't make any mistakes. If something happens, even an old man like me can't protect you." Zhuosong was very worried. The true dragon cave was a well-known terrain, which contained many dangerous and unpredictable dangers. Even a single wrong step could lead to an unpredictable crisis. Qin Feng transmitted his voice. "Elder Zhua, don't worry. It's just a true dragon cave." The true dragon cave was a taboo among other Xian masters of formations. It contained danger, but in Qin Feng's eyes, it was just SOSO. Zhuosong smiled bitterly and shook his head inwardly. This little guy is so arrogant. It's just a true dragon cave. Even a level 7 Xian master wouldn't dare to talk like this. Zhuosong made up his mind to keep an eye on Qin Feng. Zhuosong was prepared for Qin Feng's failure. Zhuosong secretly decided that this time, even at the risk of offending Xingqian School, he must protect this reckless little guy. In that case, little friend Qin, do it. Qing Mu faintly stared at Qin Feng. His gaze was filled with pressure. He was imposing without being angry. "But the true dragon cave is very big. Where are you going to start?" "Of course, I'll start with the Dragon Ball." Qin Feng scanned the entire dragon cave. Qing Mu was puzzled. What Dragon Ball? Fan Qingshan and Zhuosong were also puzzled. The true dragon cave was a famous secret place in ancient times. It contained many secrets, and they only knew its name. The Dragon Ball is the center of the true dragon cave, where the essence of the true dragon cave is. The terrain of the true dragon cave can give birth to an innate true dragon, so there must be a place for it to be born. This is the Dragon Ball of the entire true dragon cave. Qin Feng said casually as his eyes fell on the ancestral dragon divine wood. "If I'm not wrong, this ancestral dragon divine wood should be growing on the core of the Dragon Ball?" "Why are you so sure?" Long Ling frowned slightly. Her beautiful face was tranquil as her beautiful eyes landed on the black-robed youth. Qin Feng glanced at the cold and elegant girl and smiled. "Because this ancestral dragon divine wood is the most crucial divine item in the entire true dragon cave. Don't think that the true dragon cave is protected by the ancestral dragon divine wood. If something happens to the ancestral dragon divine wood, this true dragon cave will be completely destroyed. I can guarantee that all earth dragons gathered in this place will run away within a couple of years." Qing Mu's heart trembled. If such a thing were to occur, then the consequences would truly be terrifying. He was afraid that Dumu Feng would become the sinner of the entire Xingqian school. In order to suppress all the earth dragons, the ancestral dragon divine wood must grow in a place where the essence of the true dragon cave gathers. Qin Feng didn't notice the flash of worry on Qing Mu's face. Qin Feng's gaze landed on the ancestral dragon divine wood and then on the 7-star dragon spring. Gulp, gulp. The water of the 7-star dragon spring churned as dense life essence evaporated. It was brilliant and carried traces of spiritual light. It was extremely alluring. Faint starlight penetrated through the water as the spring water churned like a dragon's roar. The ancestral dragon Divine Wood was located in the seven-star dragon spring. Its tiny roots were like pale golden young dragons swimming in the seven-star dragon spring, as if they were alive. Here, tens of thousands of earth dragons gathered and formed Dragon Chi. This primal chaos dragon nest was clearly the center of the entire true dragon cave, and the seven-star dragon spring happened to be at the center of the primal chaos crow nest. The dragon pearl must be under the seven-star dragon spring. With a thought from Qin Feng, a mysterious power was emitted. The water in the seven-star dragon spring surged as an invisible hand controlled the spiritual water in the spring. Divine ability? Qing Mu and Zhua Song were the strongest and were the first to sense this invisible fluctuation. The two of them looked at each other with a trace of shock. This kid has mastered a divine ability at the 10th level of the martial Dao. Qin Feng tried to use his innate divine ability, ocean control, to control the water vapor in the seven-star dragon spring. However, the water vapor that he used to be able to control with ease had become obscure and difficult to control. Moreover, it was as heavy as a mountain. It became extremely difficult to control even a drop. No, my innate divine ability is not high enough to control this spiritual water. Qin Feng sighed. I want to go down and check it out personally. Qin Feng looked at Qing Mu. You want to enter the seven-star dragon spring to check it out? Qing Mu's expression became strange. Qing Mu's expression was very difficult with a trace of suspicion. The seven-star dragon spring was a rare spiritual water that contained dragon nature. If one could bathe in it, it would have unimaginable benefits for cultivation. It could even improve one's body, forge one's combat body, and increase one's lifespan. Qin Feng's eyes were indifferent. Qin Feng naturally knew the benefits of entering the seven-star dragon spring. Forget it, whether he really wants to enter the seven-star dragon spring to investigate or if he wants to fish for benefits, the safety of the true dragon cave is the most important. Qing Mu smiled bitterly in his heart. After hesitating for a while, he tried his best to convince himself. Qin Feng, go in. Although Qing Mu tried his best to remain calm, he couldn't help but feel sour in his heart. Qing Mu himself had never bathed in the seven-star dragon spring before. At most, he would secretly get some spring water to refine pills. I missed a great opportunity. Seeing that Qing Mu had agreed to such a ridiculous request, Fan Qingshan's face turned green with regret. He had stayed here for 5 or 6 days, so why hadn't he thought of this reason? The seven-star dragon spring was a rare divine spring that could temper one's physique and be reborn. Most importantly, bathing in this spring water could also increase one's lifespan. Fan Qingshan wanted nothing more than to give himself a big slap. What a lifespan! Some young experts looked at Qin Feng enviously, wishing they could immediately replace him. Too smart. This was a great bargain. Zhua Song gave him a well-done look. Qin Feng's mouth twitched. He really didn't want to take advantage of others. He just wanted to enter to investigate the reason. Taking a deep breath, Qin Feng waved his arms. With a plop, Qin Feng jumped into the seven-star dragon spring. Plop! Water splashed everywhere. The moment he entered the seven-star dragon spring, he bathed in the warm spring water that carried a mellow spirituality. Qin Feng felt as if he had fallen into a warm hot spring, and all the pores on his body naturally relaxed. A faint warmth entered his soul, washing away the impurities in the depths of his soul. Traces of black filth were cleansed from Qin Feng's body. These were the pill toxins, true qi impurities, and hidden injuries that had accumulated in Qin Feng's body. It was incomparably pure. Qin Feng narrowed his eyes. It was as if he had returned to his mother's womb, throwing away all the burdens of the Hotian realm. Soaking in the seven-star dragon spring, Qin Feng's internal organs, skin, and even every corner of his body were baptized and tempered by the spirit water. All the pores on his body became compact, his skin became delicate, and even his eyes carried a charming luster, like a newborn baby. His skin was glowing with a jade light, and his bones were like divine iron that had been polished off, releasing their original appearance. A dragon among men, this was probably the case. The seven-star dragon spring could turn an ordinary person into a dragon among men. In just a breath's time, Qin Feng's aura shook, and he naturally broke through the 11th layer of the martial Tao. This change was seen by Qin Mu, Fan Qingshan, and some other young experts. Their eyes became extremely complicated. This is the 4th update. The 5th update is around 8 or 9 in the evening. Chapter 214. The third divine gate of the martial path was broken, and a wisp of pure divine treasure essence Qi entered his meridians. In the blink of an eye, Qin Feng's cultivation began to break through. Peak of the 10th heavenly layer, early 11th heavenly layer, middle 11th heavenly layer, late 11th heavenly layer. 21st tide, 22nd tide, 23rd tide, 24th tide. In the 7-star dragon spring, Qin Feng didn't need to worry about his meridians being unable to withstand the impact of the true Qi wave. His damaged meridians were cleansed by the wisps of spirit water from the 7-star dragon spring, and they were instantly healed. Seeing that he was about to break through to the 12th heavenly layer, Qin Feng suppressed this impulse with all his strength. He circulated the innate chaotic unity law with all his strength to suppress and condense the Xiantian true Qi in his meridians, slowly submerging it into the 365 major acupoints in his body. Qin Feng's foundation was too deep. It had swallowed too many good things. If it was anyone else, they would have broken through to the meridian condensation stage long ago. Qin Feng desperately suppressed it, and his Xiantian true Qi circulated hundreds of times in his meridians. However, the peak of the 11th heavenly layer was already the limit. This little guy. How could the situation in Qin Feng's body be hidden from the two Nirvana realm powerhouses above the dragon's nest? The two powerhouses looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Zhuosong's eyes flashed with a terrifying light. This kind of foundation is simply unimaginably deep. This cultivation technique seems to be the innate chaotic unity law. Qin Mu's mouth twitched. Innate chaotic unity law? How did this little fellow learn this martial arts technique? Zhuosong suddenly understood, and then a trace of worry appeared in his eyes. The innate chaotic unity law became more and more difficult to cultivate. After the 11th heavenly layer, even the jade spirit pill, which was extremely helpful to the martial path, would completely lose its effect. Unexpectedly breaking through, Qin Feng suppressed the joy in his heart and dived into the depths of the 7-star dragon spring. The spring water rumbled, and it was as if great dragons were roaring. The 7 great stars at the bottom of the water shone, and it was as if all of the essence of the true dragon cave was gathered here. Life essence energy rose, and spiritual light shone brilliantly. Divine multicolored light surged. The mouth of the 7 stars dragon spring was extremely deep, like a bottomless divine pool. Qin Feng dived into the water, and his eyes reflected the 7 great stars. These 7 great stars were clearly not far away, yet they were so deep that they could not be found. Like fishing the moon from the water. The bottom of the water was filled with dense light green roots. These roots were like small green dragons swimming in the water. These roots came from the ancestral dragon divine wood on the surface of the water. Qin Feng had to be careful of these roots. Once he was entangled with the tyrannical power of the ancestral dragon divine wood, he would definitely be sucked dry of his essence blood. A starving camel is still bigger than a horse. If it was the ancestral dragon divine wood at its peak, Qin Feng would not dare to enter the 7 stars dragon spring at all. Otherwise, his essence blood would be sucked dry by this divine wood at the first moment. Qin Feng dived a few more feet down, and the top of his head gradually darkened. However, there was a faint, deafening dragon roar coming from the water. A huge dragon drilled out from the stone wall and transformed into a dragon-shaped spirit energy, swimming around in the water. This was a dragon vein. Its scales were sinister, like a dragon snake. It had already transformed into its true form. This dragon vein emitted a terrifying might, as if it was a true ancient and mysterious dragon. This was extremely terrifying. Qin Feng felt a chill down his spine, and his hair stood on end. He avoided this dragon vein far away. Qin Feng felt that he was not a match for these dragons. If he was entangled, something unexpected might happen. However, the dragon pearl was still nowhere to be seen. Qin Feng was a little hesitant. The deeper he went into the Seven Stars Dragon Spring, the more dangerous it was. Qin Feng was a little scared. Qin Feng gritted his teeth and sneaked in. After another 50 to 60 feet, there was a surge of undercurrents in the distance. A coarse dragon roar rang out as a huge dragon rushed over. Qin Feng hurriedly froze and hid himself. This was an even more terrifying dragon. It was already covered in scales and horns. Its entire body was yellow in color, and it was dignified and profound. It only lacked 5 claws to transform into a real earth vein true dragon. Fortunately, this dragon did not notice Qin Feng, who was swimming in the water. Following that, Qin Feng became even more cautious. In the next hour, he avoided several earth vein dragon spirits one after another. The longest one had already grown scales and claws, like a real young dragon. It only lacked the dragon pearl. As long as the dragon pearl was nurtured, this dragon spirit would be able to transform into a dragon and soar into the sky. Qin Feng was almost discovered by this little dragon. An hour later, Qin Feng suddenly discovered a glimmer of light at the bottom of the water. Dragon pearl. Qin Feng rushes over here with all his strength. Far away, several tens of zhang away, Qin Feng sees a thick and solid small azure dragon coiling around a big pearl. It was a pearl the size of a bowl. At the bottom of the water, this pearl was emitting a spiritual light that seemed to have substance. The thickest root of the ancestral dragon divine wood was wrapped around this pearl. Qin Feng looked at this scene in shock. Qin Feng was not surprised by the size of this dragon pearl. Indeed, this dragon pearl was very big. It was 10 times bigger than what was described in the ancient books. What surprised Qin Feng was the beautiful woman who was sitting cross-legged at the bottom of the water, hugging the dragon pearl. This was an extremely beautiful woman. Devastatingly beautiful was not enough to describe her beauty. Her beauty was not like the cold beauty of the mysterious woman in white that Qin Feng had seen before. Not as arrogant as Ji Huang, not as gentle as the white clouds, elegant and refined. She had an indescribable noble temperament, a mature, charming, and even motherly dignity. Who is this? Why would she appear in the 7-star dragon spring? Qin Feng's face was bewildered. In his eyes, this beautiful woman was sitting cross-legged. She was dressed in a light yellow palace dress. Although she looked noble, elegant, and had a trace of dignity, her eyes were closed, as if she had no life. When Qin Feng was several feet closer, he realized that the ancestral dragon divine tree's thorns were entangled around the beautiful woman's waist. This beautiful woman had a layer of death aura on her body. This was the death aura of a dead person. Could it be that this woman's life force was completely sucked away by the ancestral dragon divine wood? Without a doubt, this woman was definitely a terrifying expert when she was alive. She might have entered the 7-star dragon spring to search for the dragon pearl and fought with the ancestral dragon divine wood. She was defeated by the ancestral dragon divine wood and had her blood essence sucked dry. Narrowing his eyes, Qin Feng slowly approached and slowly discovered something fishy. Half of this dragon pearl was already dyed black. An extremely evil aura came from the dragon pearl. The entire body of water surged as if it was a demon realm. Some earth-vein dragon spirits did not dare to approach this place. This extremely evil aura came from this beautiful woman's body. It was as if the evil aura in this beautiful woman's body had infected the dragon pearl. This evil aura was extremely terrifying. A trace of evil aura seemed to be able to draw out endless demonic thoughts in one's heart, causing one to degenerate into an evil demon. If it was an ordinary person, once they walked within 10 feet of this beautiful woman, they would definitely be tempted by the dragon pearl that was faintly emitting an evil aura and go crazy, dying from chi deviation. Qin Feng was a demonic ancestor, so he did not care about the temptation of some evil aura. The abyss demon diagram opened and swallowed this evil aura. Clearly, this woman was the culprit behind the ancestral dragon divine wood's withering. Qin Feng approached and sized up this beautiful woman at a close distance. Even though the person in front of him was a dead person, Qin Feng still could not help but be dazed for a moment. This woman was too beautiful, especially that high and mighty aura, as noble and dignified as an empress, as if she was the mother of the world. It made one have the urge to conquer her on the spot. This is the 5th update, please recommend it. Chapter 2:15. In the depths of the spring, on a stone platform. The stone platform was faint, as if it had experienced the vicissitudes of time, carrying the magic of time. Qin Feng was very cautious. The absolute beauty had an absolute majesty on her, and this pressure was not weaker than Qin Feng at his peak. This was a female supreme. This could be an ancient female supreme. Who is this person? She actually passed away in the 7-star dragon's spring. Thinking to himself, Qin Feng approached and sized her up, trying to find some clues. However, there was nothing at the bottom that could prove the identity of this absolute beauty. This woman must have been a peerless beauty when she was alive, but she died so silently. No matter how peerless you were when you were alive, you are still a pile of bones after death. Qin Feng sighed. Qin Feng was very glad that he could reverse fate and live a new life, trying to break through to the undying demon god realm again. Although the absolute beauty was surrounded by the aura of death, her body and appearance were perfectly preserved, and she looked full of vitality. The soul is dead, but the body is still alive. Qin Feng was indifferent. This was the fate that many martial arts experts could not escape. Many martial arts experts had bodies comparable to gods and demons, and they could destroy the stars, sun, and moon with their bare hands. They had already reached the undying realm, but their souls could not escape the erosion of time. Suddenly, a faint golden light appeared. Something strange. Qin Feng's eyes narrowed, and a trace of curiosity flashed through his heart. His gaze landed on the absolute beauty's chest. After hesitating for a moment, Qin Feng took 2 steps forward and reached into the absolute beauty's chest. Her skin was smooth and incomparably enchanting, lively and fragrant. A delicate fragrance came, stirring one's soul. Qin Feng touched something soft and smooth. Casually taking it out, a faint golden silk scroll appeared in front of Qin Feng. This was the item that emitted the golden light at the bottom of the water. Record of Unruffled Sages. It was a thin silk scroll. On the scroll, there were 5 bold and powerful characters that carried an ancient aura. These 5 characters were like a huge and boundless black hole that instantly attracted Qin Feng's mind. Qin Feng's mind seemed to be dragged bit by an invisible force, and Qin Feng could not help but open the silk scroll. Qin Feng could not move and he could not speak. He could only watch himself unconsciously open the silk scroll. Information from the silk scroll was forcefully poured into Qin Feng's mind. A trace of shock flashed through Qin Feng's eyes. This silk book had a strange and unfathomable demonic power, as if it contained a trace of the author's domineering will. Anyone who came into contact with this demonic book would be forcibly injected with this cultivation technique. This was a peerless and tyrannical martial art called the record of the unruffled sage. Rather than calling it a magic art, it was a demonic art. This heaven and earth's changes heaven and earth was a peerless, unparalleled. It divided the realms into 3 realms. The first realm, realm of oblivion, was to forget all the sentient beings of heaven and earth, plunder the opportunities of heaven and earth to supplement oneself. The second realm, realm of oblivion, was to forget one's 7 emotions and 6 desires, to destroy the desires of heaven and man, and to become one with the heavenly Tao. The third realm, realm of oblivion, was to forget heaven and earth, to forget time and space, to reach the extremity of heaven and earth, without beginning or end, to finally obliterate heaven and earth, to destroy the world, to complete oneself, to reach the highest realm where one was heaven and earth were one. If one could cultivate to the third realm, one could attain the body of a grand supreme demon god. The grand supreme demon god, among the many demon gods, was the most terrifying existence. Clearly, this was a peerless record of unruffled sages. Among the many cultivation techniques, it was definitely a top existence. It could be a legendary cultivation technique. Qin Feng's mind felt like it had fallen from a black hole and was sucked into a swamp, unable to extricate itself. Behind the silk scroll were some terrifying killing techniques, such as the Grand Supreme Demon Blade, Dragon Trampling 7 Steps, God-slaying Earth-annihilating sword technique, and various other cultivation techniques. They were all extremely vicious and terrifying. The murderous aura soared to the sky. Qin Feng's mind seemed to be intoxicated by it, falling into a demonic realm. He transformed into a demon god and practiced them one by one, killing gods and demons with one sword, overturning heaven and earth with one strike, cracking the earth with one step, and causing calamities and disasters. Buzz, buzz. In his mind, the natal array abyssal demon diagram hummed, trying its best to suppress a trace of strange consciousness. Qin Feng's mind was awakened. Qin Feng's expression changed drastically, and he sucked in a breath of cold air. He had actually been bewitched by this silk scroll. Suddenly, Qin Feng was horrified to find that the innate true qi in his body was involuntarily circulating and cultivating according to the record of oblivion. It was as if there was a strange consciousness that was actively controlling his consciousness, and he could not help but cultivate. Another self appeared in the depths of Qin Feng's soul. He was extremely evil, and he cultivated the record of oblivion on his own. Qin Feng closed his eyes, and a trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. With great willpower, he forcefully mobilized the soul of his previous life, turning it into a peerless sword, and destroyed this memory along with a small part of his soul. Pfft! Qin Feng's body trembled, and his face was as pale as paper. His soul was injured, and it involved his origins. This was no trifling matter. It could even shake his foundation, and he might even lose the ability to break through to the fiend's celestial realm forever. The silk scroll floated down from Qin Feng's hand. It disappeared along with the undercurrent. Qin Feng closed his eyes and allowed the silk book to disappear. This silk book was really too strange. Just by looking at it, his soul was actually affected by the tyrannical willpower. He couldn't help but cultivate this record of the Most High unruffled. Even his soul was tainted. He was forced to sever himself. Qin Feng closed his eyes and sat cross-legged on the stone platform. He absorbed the water of the 7 Stars Dragon Spring to heal his soul. Several hours later, Qin Feng's face gradually regained its color, and he opened his eyes. Qin Feng was very glad that he was in a spirit spring like the 7 Stars Dragon Spring. The spirit spring's water could strengthen one's foundation and stabilize one's foundation. However, his soul was ultimately injured. If he did not recover in time, it might affect his future cultivation. Fortunately, there was something in front of him that could heal the injuries of his soul. Qin Feng's gaze fell on the dragon pearl placed on the beautiful woman's knee. This dragon pearl was the core of the true dragon cave, and it was a rare sacred object. It contained an inconceivable mysterious power that could nourish the soul and strengthen the spirit. Qin Feng's eyes moved and he stood up. He took a few steps forward and tried to take the dragon pearl off the beautiful woman's body. However, this dragon pearl seemed to have become one with the woman. It was like half of a mountain, and he could not move it at all. Their qi is compatible, and I can't take it off? Qin Feng's gaze fell on the beautiful woman. Although her soul had disappeared, her body was not destroyed. She seemed to have absorbed the essence of the dragon pearl, and her qi seemed to have fused with the dragon pearl, becoming one with it. If he could not separate the woman and the pearl, Qin Feng would not be able to do as he wished. Unless I interrupt the unity of the woman and the pearl, but this woman is already dead. How can I shake her and make her let go of the dragon pearl? Thinking in his heart, Qin Feng smiled bitterly. This was a huge problem. No, although this woman's soul has disappeared, her body is not dead. She should still have some instincts. As long as I can stimulate her, she will definitely be able to let go of the pearl. Qin Feng's eyes lit up, but the next moment, he frowned again. But how could he stimulate a woman? Hit her? Qin Feng glanced at the beautiful woman. Not to mention whether he could be ruthless enough to hit such a beautiful woman, this woman's body was invincible. With Qin Feng's current cultivation, he could not shake her at all. Even if this woman sat still, Qin Feng could not cut off a single hair of this woman. Other than beating her up, what else can stimulate a woman's instincts? Thinking in his heart, Qin Feng tilted his head and just happened to see the towering snow-white peaks of the peerless beauty's chest. Could it be that he wanted to attack her chest? Today is still 5 chapters. The second and third chapters will be updated together, all in the afternoon. Chapter 216. On the stone platform, Qin Feng stroked his chin, feeling a little strange. This was the best method Qin Feng could think of. The female supreme was also a woman. But isn't this too wretched? Qin Feng's eyes flickered, and he threw away this sudden thought. Attacking her chest was just a means, not the goal. Everything was for the Dragon Ball. This reason was open and aboveboard. Qin Feng took a step forward, his body close to the female supreme, and a wonderful feeling poured into his heart. Although the female supreme's soul was lost, her body was not destroyed, and her vitality was exuberant. To a certain extent, she was not completely dead. Perhaps after a few years, her body could still nourish her soul and become a new life. Qin Feng looked at this beautiful woman. This woman's appearance was beautiful, her temperament was dignified, sacred, and with a trace of untouchable nobility. Although she was sitting cross-legged, it could be seen that her figure was very tall, and her waist was flexible. The most blushing and heart-throbbing thing was that sacred towering to an exaggerated arc. That snow-white trembling was covered under her tube top. She was like a noble goddess, and no one could bear to blaspheme her. But there was also a kind of demonic thought that couldn't wait to press her under his body and whip her ruthlessly. One could imagine how great it would be if he could press her under his body. There was a trace of impulse in his eyes. Looking at the Dragon Ball in front of the woman, Qin Feng's mouth showed a trace of helplessness. He took a few steps forward, and a hand directly reached into the woman's tube top. When he touched that trace of delicate fragrance and softness, Qin Feng's eyes instantly widened. Her skin was congealed, incomparably enchanting. So big. His heart shook. Qin Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. This woman was really a peerless beauty. With the stimulation, Qin Feng's eyes noticed that the woman's skin seemed to be alive, revealing a trace of strange pink, and even her crystal earlobes were dyed with a trace of red. There was a strange charm on her beautiful face, as if she was a seductress who seduced people's souls. Qin Feng was a little absent-minded. The aura began to fluctuate. A crack appeared in the harmonious aura between the woman and the Dragon Ball. The qi is loosening. Qin Feng's eyes lit up. He increased the strength of his hand and squeezed hard. Puchi! A soft ringing sound rang out, and a wisp of spiritual light emanated from the Dragon Pearl, which then floated up from the woman's knees. Success! Waking up from his absent-mindedness, Qin Feng's eyes were sharp and his hands were nimble. He raised a hand and clawed at the void, pressing down on the Dragon Ball. A dense life essence surged in the palm of his hand. When the Dragon Ball left the woman's knee, the half-black and half-white Dragon Ball suddenly let out a pure dragon roar, and a sacred luster burst out. Roar. It was a long dragon roar that seemed to come from the depths of the ancient river of time. Qin Feng was actually unable to hold on to the Dragon Pearl. The Dragon Pearl flew out of Qin Feng's palm. The undercurrent in the seven-star dragon spring surged, and a large dragon appeared in the distance. With a joyful dragon roar, the large dragon happily entered the Dragon Pearl. As the large dragon sank into the Dragon Pearl, a small piece of the black spots on the Dragon Pearl seemed to have been purified. Roar, roar, roar! With a few wild dragon roars, several large dragons rushed out of the seven-star dragon spring one after another and rushed into the Dragon Pearl. Among them was the small dragon with scales and claws that Qin Feng had seen before. The large dragons drilled into the Dragon Pearl one after another, as if they had merged with the Dragon Pearl. The luster on the Dragon Pearl became softer and softer. In just a few dozen breaths of time, the extremely evil black color on the Dragon Pearl dissipated. This is the Dragon Pearl's self-purification. Qin Feng stared at the Dragon Pearl without blinking, and a strange light shot out from his eyes. The true Dragon Cave was a very rare terrain. It was a kind of treasure land but also a kind of ominous land. It had many mysterious abilities. Among them, the most mysterious was the Dragon Pearl, also known as the Holy Dragon Pearl. It was rumored that the Holy Dragon Pearl that was nurtured in the true Dragon Cave was a treasure of heaven and earth, and it had many inconceivable divine effects. If a savage beast with the bloodline of a true dragon swallowed it, it would immediately revert to its ancestor and soar into the sky to become a dragon. If a martial artist refined it, they would also have many unimaginable benefits. The Holy Dragon Pearl slowly fell from the sky. Qin Feng held the Holy Dragon Pearl with one hand. In the next moment, Qin Feng reacted. It seemed like his other hand was still in her tube top. Qin Feng turned his head and looked at the snow-white peak. He was reluctant to part with it. It felt too good. Before pulling away, he squeezed it again. Qin Feng pulled his hand out with a face full of regret. I must absorb the Holy Dragon Pearl's origin essence as soon as possible and try to recover my soul injuries. Resisting the urge to look at the beautiful woman, Qin Feng's gaze fell on the Holy Dragon Pearl. The evil aura and death aura on the Holy Dragon Pearl had been completely expelled. It wouldn't be long before the true Dragon Cave recovered, and the ancestral Dragon Divine would also recover its vitality. Qin Feng immediately sat down cross-legged. Holding the Holy Dragon Pearl in his palm, Qin Feng's eyes focused. Strands of spiritual light shone down from the Holy Dragon Pearl, and Qin Feng felt that his physique was constantly being tempered. His soul was comfortable, and the small portion of soul energy that was destroyed was quickly recovering. As expected of a treasure of heaven and earth, just the spiritual light emitted by it is enough to let my soul recover. If I can absorb its essence, there will definitely be a qualitative transformation. Eyes burning, Qin Feng forcibly suppressed the distracting thoughts in his mind. Holding the Holy Dragon Pearl in his palm, he operated the Essence Extraction Grand Method and began to extract the Holy Dragon Pearl's origin essence. A suction force appeared in his palm, and a trace of pure holy dragon pearl's origin essence was forcibly extracted from the holy dragon pearl. A warm liquid holy dragon pearl's origin essence rushed into the depths of his soul. The surging origin essence washed his flesh and cleansed his soul. Bathed in the holy dragon pearl's origin essence, Qin Feng's soul felt like it was bathing in a hot spring, and his wounds began to heal. Half an hour later, Qin Feng opened his eyes. The small portion of his soul that he had forcibly destroyed had completely recovered. His entire soul was refreshed, as if it was blooming with spiritual light. His thoughts were more agile than usual. A single thought flashed through countless thoughts. Many cultivation methods and mysteries that he couldn't comprehend before were instantly understood, and he could draw inferences from them. Qin Feng's soul was tempered. His sixth sense, which had shrunk after being injured, was restored, and it was clearer and had a wider range. Qin Feng closed his eyes, and it was as if he could see the changes in his surroundings. The most amazing thing was that Qin Feng's body had undergone some changes. After absorbing some of the holy dragon pearl's origin essence, Qin Feng's body emitted a majestic aura, as if he was the true son of heaven. Opening his eyes, Qin Feng looked at the holy dragon pearl that was emitting a hazy radiance. He sighed softly. This thing is indeed a treasure. Splash! Splash! At this moment, the faint green shadows above his head, as if awakening from hibernation, gently stirred the water. Qin Feng was startled and raised his head. The ancestral dragon divine tree had begun to recover its power, and the faint green dragon-like roots were gradually becoming active. He couldn't stay underwater for long. I can only last for about 2 hours at most. After estimating in his heart, Qin Feng glanced at the ancestral dragon divine tree above his head, gritted his teeth, and decided to steal the holy dragon pearl's origin essence with all his might. This holy dragon pearl's origin essence had unimaginable benefits to him. Such a rare opportunity would only come once in a lifetime. This bowl-sized holy dragon pearl contained the life essence of the true dragon cave for countless years. He would take as much as he could. Qin Feng crazily circulated the essence extraction technique, and the faint green roots of the ancestral dragon divine tree above his head became more and more active, and was about to recover soon. Once the roots of the ancestral dragon divine tree completely recovered, the seven-star dragon spring would become a true forbidden land. Any living being that dared to barge into the seven-star dragon spring would become the target of the ancestral dragon divine tree. This is the second update. Originally, the 2 chapters were going to be updated together, but I'll forget it in advance. The 4th and 5th updates are at night. Chapter 217. Above the primal chaos dragon nest, around the 7-star dragon spring. A few hours passed, and the group stared at the 7-star dragon spring without blinking. The spring water flowed, and the 7 stars shone with silver light. The spring water seemed to have a faint silver light. What a lucky kid! After staying in the 7-star dragon spring for so long, he must have drunk his fill. Fan Qingshan's face was indifferent, but the jealousy in his eyes could not be concealed. The group of young experts looked at the source of the voice, and their gazes landed on Fan Qingshan. Zuosong sneered and raised his head. Fan, what does it have to do with you whether he drinks or not? I'm envious. You're a rice bucket, so who can you blame? Zuosong. Veins popped out on Fan Qingshan's face. He had been hit where it hurt. Fan Qingshan's eyes were cold. Zuosong, don't be happy too early. Although the 7-star dragon spring is a treasure land, it might not be without danger. Be careful that your joy turns to sorrow. Zuosong's face darkened. This Fan Qingshan's mouth was too hateful. Zuosong's face was cold. Let's not talk about joy turning to sorrow. At least this little brother of mine has the ability to find the root of the withered spiritual root. He's not like some people who occupy a treasure land and delay the treatment of their spiritual root. They're ignorant and incompetent, and they're fishing for fame. The scariest thing is that it's clearly his problem, but he likes to push the blame to the younger generation. His skin is thicker than a city wall. Fan Qingshan's face instantly turned black. Seeing the two bickering, Qing Mu's eyes were cold. He could afford to wait for 6 days, so half a day might not be a problem. Suddenly, Qing Mu's eyes moved. Qing Mu took a step forward, and his gaze landed on the 7-star dragon spring. What's going on? Why does it feel like the water level of the 7-star dragon spring has dropped a little? Qing Mu felt strange, and his eyes turned serious. Zuosong noticed Qing Mu's expression and stopped bickering with Fan Qingshan. He took a step forward and arrived beside the divine lake. Brother Qing Mu, did something happen? Zuosong looked at the divine lake with doubt. No, it's probably just an illusion. Qing Mu's expression, but he felt strange. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, "Everyone, look!" Qing Mu hurriedly raised his head and looked over. The ancestral dragon divine wood in the center of the spirit spring was changing. A layer of spiritual light surged around the small tree, and its translucent bark glowed faintly. The spots formed by the death aura and evil aura were changing. The little tree swept away the strange phenomenon of the spiritual tree in its twilight years. Although it still looked mottled on the outside, its bark was covered in disgusting pustules, death aura and evil aura. However, it seemed to be full of vitality, radiating a kind of vitality from within. The light green rhizomes were like living little horned dragons as they began to move about. Their rhizomes were covered in light green scales, and they were no longer as silent and weak as before. At this moment, it was as if a weak, sleeping dragon had awoken. A divine might that originated from the primordial era was born. The divine tree was alive. That brat actually managed to save the divine tree. What a blessing! Good, very good. As the dark clouds above his head dissipated, Greenwood lost his composure. How is this possible? Fan Qingshan's eyes widened. His gaze landed on the ancestral dragon divine wood that was gradually recovering its vitality. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The ancestral dragon divine wood was actually saved by a kid? This was impossible. Fan Qingshan's face turned pale. Zuosong laughed. Fan Qingshan, how is it impossible? Zuosong was so agitated that he couldn't control himself. Fan Qingshan's expression was cold. Zuosong, don't think that just because you defeated me, I didn't lose to you. Zuosong restrained his laughter, and there was a hint of a sneer in his eyes. Keep being stubborn. Anyway, the loser has the right to be stubborn. Zuosong walked in front of Fan Qingshan and said coldly, "Whether you admit it or not, at least this time, the president of All Stars College's Mystic Association is me, not you. You can only leave here with your tail between your legs. Leave my territory. You." Fan Qingshan pointed at Zuosong, so angry that he couldn't speak. There was also a stifling feeling in his heart. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the spring water in the 7 Stars Dragon spring surged. With a loud bang, the water burst open, and a black shadow rushed out of the water like a sharp arrow and leaped high into the air. At the same time, behind the black shadow, a light green dragon that looked like a swimming dragon tore through the air and chased after it. Zuosong turned his head, and his expression changed slightly. He took a step and appeared behind the black shadow. In the next moment, a flame that could burn through heaven and earth appeared in his palm as he struck out. Zuosong shouted angrily, "Go back!" The blazing flame collided with the light green dragon. The light green dragon let out a screech and retreated into the 7 Stars Dragon spring. The flame retreated. The black shadow flashed and appeared in the Chaos Dragon lair. This black shadow was none other than Qin Feng, who had rushed out from the bottom of the pool. Qin Feng exhaled lightly as a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. If he had been a little slower just now, he would have been caught by the roots of the ancestral dragon divine wood and sucked clean, turning into a dried corpse. At the end of the day, he was too greedy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been targeted by the ancestral dragon divine wood. However, he had indeed gained a lot this time. Little guy, how was it? Zhuosong turned around and looked at the black-robed youth. The old man stroked his white beard with a smile on his face. Qin Feng turned his head and said, Elder Zhuo, thank you. Qin Feng turned his head and looked at the ancestral dragon divine wood that was gradually recovering in the 7 stars dragon spring. There was still some lingering fear in his eyes. The ancestral dragon divine wood was simply too terrifying. This was just a trace of its power that had just recovered. If it was at its peak, even if a Nirvana realm powerhouse came, they wouldn't dare to approach it at all. Otherwise, they would be in danger of dying. Right at this moment, a sarcastic voice sounded. 12th heavenly layer of the martial Tao. In the blink of an eye, you advanced by a large stage. You really know how to fish for benefit. I see this 7 stars dragon spring as some people's bathhouse. After absorbing some of the sacred dragon origin essence, Qin Feng's cultivation had broken through to the mid-stage of the 12th heavenly layer of the martial Tao. Qin Feng turned his head and just happened to see Fan Qingshan looking at him with a meaningful gaze. A nameless fire erupted in his heart. Qin Feng raised his chin and sneered. Old man, what the hell are you shouting for? If you have the guts, why don't you go down and try taking a bath? Fan Qingshan was stunned. He glanced at the divine pool where faint azure dragons were swimming and his face twitched. How could Fan Qingshan dare to go down now? Fan Qingshan gritted his teeth. He really wanted to immediately crush this ant that had repeatedly offended his dignity. Zhuosong sneered and looked down at Fan Qingshan. It was as if he would explode the moment Fan Qingshan made a move. The deterrence of a Nirvana realm powerhouse made Fan Qingshan not dare to make the slightest move. Under such a gaze, Fan Qingshan didn't even dare to say half a word. Fan Qingshan left without even looking back. However, before he left, Fan Qingshan glanced at Qin Feng. It was full of malice and coldness. Zhuosong said coldly as he watched Fan Qingshan leave. Little guy, don't bother with that old man. He's about to get lost. He has nowhere to vent his anger, so he's looking for trouble. Qin Feng's face was gloomy and his heart was heavy. Qing Mu walked over. The ancestral dragon divine wood had been revived. Qing Mu's face was relaxed. His gaze landed on the black-robed youth and he smiled. He felt that this youth was much more pleasing to the eye. Everyone, let's leave this place. The ancestral dragon divine wood has been revived. It will soon recover. This place will become very dangerous. The group left the true dragon cave. A group of young experts followed behind. Zhang Mu reluctantly glanced at the 7-star dragon spring divine pool. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly noticed a golden light floating in the 7-star dragon spring divine pool from the corner of his eyes. Zhang Mu looked around, and seeing that no one was paying attention, he bent down and casually fished out a golden cloth from the 7-star dragon spring divine pool. His eyes were filled with joy as he quietly stuffed the cloth into his bosom, turned around and followed the others. The 3rd update. The 4th update is at night. Please recommend it. I want to rest on Sunday and find a girl to go on a date, but I still have to update. It's been delayed until now. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.